Let's do it. Happy Friday. You made it. We made it. We're back out here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park for the next 3 hours. Ross is sequestered back in the studio. I've got nobody left but Joseph to babysit me, but don't you worry. It's not just going to be you and me for 3 hours. We've got Jarvis Brownley Jr. on the radio show today. We have Coach Dave McInness of Titans Radio. Cory Curtis of WKRN News 2 is going to stop by and talk about that cornerback group with us, and we'll look forward to having a great time together. We don't need that traitor, Lucas. We're going to do it. We're going to do it live. Except the press conference, apparently. I heard I got clipped. I asked a Terry McLaurin question. I got clipped. What happened? We don't want any discussion of players that are not on the roster so badly that we're going to shut down the press conference for a brief moment while the head coach answers questions about players.
That was my Friday fire.
That I got clipped?
Yes.
Yeah, there is some irony in that, I'm sure. Listen, it's not the worst way to get clipped based on the local media landscape here lately. So hopefully that's a different kind of clip that I will not be today. But you never know. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, we'd be happy to have you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is how you get involved. Titans are on the practice field. It's a fully padded practice today, and that's because the head coach thinks they need it. Now, Ross, I don't know how many of those answers you have from Callahan, or we can get them later. We don't need them off the top. Being questioned about, the thing that I brought up a good bit on the radio show is a perceived, on our end, and I'm not the only one. I was talking to Karski and Tehran about this as well, about a perceived lack of urgency from this team on the practice field that the head coach would dispute, and that's fine. We can hear his rebuttal a little later on, but I think that there are a couple of different things that are worth talking about there, and we have time to get to those as well. The F&M Bank chat is off and rolling. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch is how you get involved. If you would like to, you can live stream the show. Leave a like on the video if you are so inclined, where I'm greeted by many, many comments regarding scary Terry McLaurin and a couple of different comments about Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons isn't available for trade, or at least he's not actively trying to force his way out. Are we just doing this thing where every time a player becomes available, I want him. I want him on my team. I don't care what it costs. I know that name. I know that player has been good in different spots. Why wouldn't he be good for me? Let's give up a first-round pick, or probably in the case of Micah Parsons, a couple of first-round picks to go get the Dallas pass rusher that is 100% not going to be moved. McLaurin feels like a similar version of that conversation. Terry McLaurin is 30 or will soon be 30 years old. And yesterday the news came out that he would be interested, or rather is demanding, that the Washington Commanders, who most recently drafted a quarterback number 2 overall, that quarterback went on to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think it's the best rookie season from a quarterback I've ever seen, at least in my lifetime watching football. I'm sure some of you of a different generation may push back on that, but still, especially for that godforsaken franchise, to go out there and do it for the Commanders, to elevate them to the NFC Championship game after how long they've just been in the dumps. And I know they've had a Taylor Heineke playoff appearance and a loss to Tom Brady the year he went on to win it as a wild card for the Tampa Bay Bucks in the COVID year, if I'm not mistaken. And they've had, moments here and there with RG3's rookie season, but it's just been so bad for so long. And finally, they feel like they've got a team, a quarterback, a collection of skill position players, an offensive line, frankly, that I thought overperformed last year, and they're screwing around with their best wide receiver. Now, John Robinson did a local radio interview yesterday, and he's talking about how much he regrets doing the A.J. Brown deal, and that he wouldn't do it again, and that he'd be stupid to do it again, or to say that he would do it again. Somebody want to go tell the Adam Peters, who was one of the top candidates for available GM jobs when he was going through the cycle. Hell, he thought he was so good he turned down the Titans job that ultimately went to Rand Carthon, and maybe he was right about not taking advantage of the opportunity. But what are you doing playing chicken with your best skill position player when you got a team that's ready to win now? Why aren't you paying Terry McLaurin at the perfect time to pay Terry McLaurin when your rookie quarterback is as cost-effective as he is. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Now, I've seen some people put out information, or at least their informed opinions, on the idea, like Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, who's one of the most connected NFL insiders we have doing the job, and he would be surprised, at least he said as much on Twitter, if Terry McLaurin actually ended up leaving Washington. But this honeymoon period for Adam Peters is over. You cannot mess around with the chemistry that football team has built. You cannot have a setback after having one of the most successful seasons that franchise has had in, 25 years. You lose a lot of goodwill as soon as Terry McLaurin goes public with this trade request, and that is the first real moment of conflict that we've seen under Adam Peters' reign as the general manager for the Washington Commanders. So, should the Titans be interested? Should the Titans inquire? Well, you guys can answer that if you want to, 615-737-1045, or what do you want the Titans to do regarding Terry McLaurin's perceived availability? I don't think he's actually going to be available. But do you want Terry McLaurin on the roster? It's a good question for Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker and even Brian Callahan. And I asked, apparently this is where I got clipped. So did the press conference just come back up while I asked my question? That is cruel irony. I think Lucas had something to do with that.
It came back up mid-answer by Callahan.
Okay, so we have at least a little bit of the context. But are we going to try and play this Twitter audio? I know there's a little bit of background noise of my question for Brian Callahan about Terry McLaurin. We're going to give this a go, Ross?
We'll give it a go.
All right, let's hear it.
Those conversations are always ongoing, players from all over the league, certainly not commenting on anybody who's not on our roster, but we look into everything. I mean, they're constantly looking through. I mean, they probably watched that preseason game last night 6 times trying to see what players are on those 2 teams that could be available. So it's part of the process this time of year, and we communicate all the time about our players, about practice that day, about potential waiver claims as they start to come up. All those things are ongoing conversations, and we got a great rapport, between Mike and I and Chad and Ziegler. We do a really good job, I think, from that standpoint of communicating where we might have some needs still and where we still need to improve our roster and where the things are improving. So it's been a pretty cool working relationship.
So he deferred the question, as is the smart PR play, and made it more about the working dynamic with the front office than he did about the idea of adding Terry McLaurin, and made sure to work in there that he wasn't going to comment on players who weren't on the roster. But do Titans fans genuinely want Terry McLaurin, who is going to be 30 years old, especially if he costs $30 million a year? Now, we're watching Titans practice today without Calvin Ridley. Titans are currently working through team drills right now. This is the first Cam Ward practice without Calvin Ridley. And so I'm sure that is going to be discussed as far as how the rookie quarterback is handled, a lot of the stuff that they've thrown at him, and how Nick Holtz was on the radio show yesterday talking about how they're upping the degree of difficulty as much as they can to make this quarterback's life as hard as humanly possible right now, because it's only going to get harder next week as he gets sacked on a play that obviously he's not actually getting sacked on because there's no contact at practice, but the defender's very quickly in the backfield. He has completed some passes today. He did hit a deep ball about midfield. Joseph, you see who the wide receiver was? Yeah, they're on the third field today. So I saw Ramon had binoculars out here. I'm starting to get to the age where I probably need them too to be able to watch from this distance. But we'll see what it looks like by the end of Cam Ward's practice. And like I said, we'll talk to Jarvis Brownley Jr. about just how today went and the emphasis that they have as a cornerback room and what he's seeing from Cam Ward and those wide receivers. But Calvin Ridley's not at practice today, and it's just a rest day. Nothing to be concerned about. We talked about him leaving practice the other day, just dealing with cramps. Not 110 degrees out here today. It's hovering somewhere around the mid to high 70s, overcast, perfect day. The football gods have blessed us. But it will at least add fuel to the fire of the McLaurin conversation here in Nashville if Cam Ward has one practice with Calvin or without Calvin Ridley, and Titans fans start wringing their hands about, well, what are we going to do if Calvin goes down, or what happens to the wide receiver depth when it's a couple of fourth-round rookie wide receivers, and I don't want to say the corpse of Tyler Lockett, but you understand what I mean by that. A 32-year-old going to be 33 who's well past the peak of his powers, but still has some productivity to give. You don't want to be running out there with him and Van Jefferson and a couple of rookies and a couple of tight ends that are anything but proven at this point if this situation goes down. It's different than the backup quarterback conversation, right? Whereas if the backup quarterback goes down in this particular season, or rather if Cam Ward goes down in this particular season, you don't want the Titans to win games. That's only going to hurt you long term. The idea of Brandon Allen or theoretically Tim Boyle coming in and making for a worse draft pick as Brandon Allen launches one about 60 yards down the field to Joseph. Can you see the number? It looks like a diminutive wide receiver. It's those damn blue jerseys. I can't tell what the numbers are that make it really, really hard. It's either James Prochet or Tyler Lockett. It's a smaller wide receiver, but like I said, we don't have great visibility up here on the SeatGeek Terrace today of the third
You'd be an
field.
awful spotter.
Well, I'd be an awful. Well, Joseph would be an awful spotter because he's sitting there squinting through. He's got his hands shaped like binoculars, like he's doing like the Batman rings around his eyes, as if that's going to help him see further. You are correct. I would probably be a bad spotter, but Joseph is not being terribly helpful here, and it's not his fault. He doesn't have the proper equipment. We can't. Shocking to nobody, the radio show is ill prepared for the day. But if Cam goes through this practice without Calvin Ridley and he struggles again, I'm sure it's only going to continue to add some level of urgency to the Titans fan psyche about we need a wide receiver. We need another wide receiver. I don't care how old he is. I'm sure some of you care what it would cost to get him. And the idea of $30 million a year for Terry McLaurin at this stage of his career when he's kind of in a comparable situation to what Calvin Ridley was the year that they signed him. 29 going on 30. Different because Calvin Ridley has talked about the time that he's missed has allowed him to stay fresher than your average 29 at the time, 29-year-old wide receiver. I think he said, I'm 29, but my legs are 25. At his introductory press conference, McLaurin has seen plenty of football, and he's been a good soldier. He's been a high-level player. It's not anything to diminish the player that Terry McLaurin is. But do you, as a Titans fan, really want your organization that is desperately, desperately, desperately in need of regenerating this roster organically, you really want to be spending a bunch of draft picks to go get a 30-year-old wide receiver? You so down on this organization's ability to draft wide receiver talent that you think the strategy is to go out and get another geriatric? I would argue against that logic, and it would seem antithetical to who the Titans organization has said they want to be, right? Draft, develop, retain. Draft, develop, retain. Patience over panic. These lines that we continue to hear from the heads of state that are running, especially the roster side of things, on where this team is in its competitive life cycle. If they do it, it would be an upset. But there's no harm in calling, seeing what it might cost, sniffing around. You're willing to part with a fourth-round pick to get Terry McLaurin? I'm sure many of you would say yes. But again, that contract on the other side makes the proposition of trading for a player like that much, much different. Now, if, and it's a huge if, the Micah Parsons scenario had any legs whatsoever, and I would be, again, stunned if Jerry Jones was so bad at this that he let a pass rusher in his mid-20s getting ready to expire on a rookie deal be traded for pieces and parts after the draft. You would be trading for next year's draft capital to give up Micah Parsons. And I know it would be in a different conference, and I know the Cowboys wouldn't see the Titans a bunch. But if that had any kind of legs whatsoever, that conversation I might be willing to engage with, because that's a more long-term solution for a team that is focused first and foremost on long-term solutions, or at least that's what they keep telling us. 615-737-1045 is the number. Jarvis Brownley Jr. will join us after practice is concluded. We're thinking about 10:30. Like I said, Coach Dave McInness, Zack Lions from Blaine and Zack. We're going to have Cory Curtis of WKRN News 2 come hang out with us, as well as we hang out here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park on this Friday with you. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. We are hanging out here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Now, you want to talk about unreliable? This radio show famously unreliable, but we have spotters. We have eyes on the ground on the third practice field that Joseph is getting reports back from because neither of us can see anything up here without Ramon Foster's binoculars. Of course, Ramon would think to bring binoculars today. I'm sure he knew they were on the third field. And I just, showed up like I normally do with my coffee and my breakfast, sat down, said, all right, I'll do a press conference. We'll see where it goes. And, of course, we can't see bleep because they are 200 yards away from us right now. But Joseph is receiving reports on the ground from Jackson Williams, which why the hell he's out here at Titans practice is beyond me. And this would be the first usefulness that he's provided to the radio show in his several years dragging us down. But apparently on that first deep ball from Cam Ward, it was Chimere Dike on the receiving side of things. Prochet was the one, so I was accurately able to determine the player's body type, if not see the numbers on those awful light blue jerseys that really make it difficult to read. So James Prochet on the second one from Brandon Allen. Really nice pass from Brandon Allen. I think, I know people are talking about the backup quarterback position, or at least they were in the early goings after the Will Levis season-ending surgery. But he's fine. He's good enough. He's good enough to be a backup quarterback. Should something happen to him, God forbid, then we can start to have a different conversation as to how much further down this thing could go, because Tim Boyle is famously two things. Famously bad at football, but famously highly intelligent enough to continue to latch on to different quarterback rooms in the league, or at least that's what Cosell keeps telling me. And I trust Greg pretty much implicitly. So I'll take his word on that. He's been sitting in on a bunch of meetings here throughout the course of the last couple of weeks. Hell, he's basically had full run of the building for the better part of a month in his 2 visits here during mandatory minicamp, and then hanging out with us earlier in the week during training camp. Cam Ward under duress again, just has to dirt that one to avoid what would have been a sack. Arden Key coming off the right side of the defensive formation. We'll keep an eye on things from up top as the Titans continue their training camp practice. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. If you want to get involved, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch obviously is where you can leave your comments if you're so inclined. We were talking about the Terry McLaurin trade request that became news last night, and obviously the ongoing contract negotiation has been something that's documented. McLaurin, before training camp opened, was very public. Not overwhelmingly agitating, but just say, yeah, I'm a little disappointed with how things have gone. We haven't had a ton of communication. In fact, I think he said he hadn't heard from Washington's representation in about a month, or his representation hadn't heard from Washington's representation for about a month. And now you're looking around with a player who's trying to force his way out of what he thinks to be a place that is not willing to pay him what he believes he's worth. And considering it, if you're a Titans fan, I know Raiders fans were on the internet last night clamoring for Terry McLaurin. I think it makes way more sense for Vegas. Should he even get moved? I don't think he's going to get moved. Again, Adam Peters, it would be a fireable offense if they let their best wide receiver go a year after making it to the NFC Championship game and doing anything that would hinder Jaden Daniels. This is a different version of the Cam Ward conversation, right? Everything as a franchise has to be done to support and to uplift your potential franchise quarterback. There's no question that Jaden Daniels is the franchise quarterback in Washington, even though he's a 2nd overall pick and Cam Ward was a number 1 overall pick. They have to do everything in service of Jaden Daniels. So you're going to take away his best target, his most reliable target last year. Statistically, Terry McLaurin is, he's not a world beater, but how many 1,000-yard seasons has he had in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where he has eclipsed the 1,000-yard receiving mark at 13 touchdowns last year. And his only year under 1,000 yards receiving was his rookie year, where he had 919. He's a good player. He's a consistent player. He gets first downs, which is something that any team could use more of, especially a team that struggled to convert the way that this one did. But it's about where you are in your competitive life cycle and giving up draft capital for that kind of a player, plus paying him on the back end for what would be a short-term solution to what you're trying to make a long-term build, I just don't think it adds up for you right now. Vegas, I think it makes a lot more sense. Pete Carroll's 73. Geno Smith is 35. Their window right now, based on what they have on the roster, and one of the weirder skill position groups in the NFL, if I was Vegas, I'd press for it. If I was Tennessee, I would be okay with letting that go by the wayside. Or, again, I don't think he makes it out of Washington. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in if you have thoughts on the matter. And as I mentioned, if Micah Parsons were to become available, I don't think he's going to become available, I'd probably go after that much harder. Now, Ramon brought up an interesting conversation, I guess, yesterday with Robert and Lucas before I got into the studio, and Robert ended up making it a poll question, which I think Lucas has still done the poll questions for my account today. I haven't checked, but we can update the polls at the end of the show. Ross, did Lucas actually do his job?
I believe they are up there, yes.
Is that a pick six? Was that Cam Ward on a pick six? That is Cam Ward on a pick six. Now, the defender went down before he actually reached the end zone, so I guess we're not technically calling it a pick six. Femi Oladejo is back there, but that's not the player who intercepted Cam Ward. Joseph is working diligently to see, I got a 21, Roger McCreary in a contract year intercepting the young quarterback. You heard Nick Holtz yesterday talk about making the degree of difficulty greater on Cam Ward at any given turn. In fact, Ross, you can pull that from my timeline, my Twitter timeline, or if you just have the clip available of him and Cosell talking back and forth from yesterday's show about how they're ramping up the degree of difficulty, and that's the offensive coordinator for the team talking about how they're trying to make Cam Ward's life intentionally more difficult to prepare him for some of these moments. But that would have been a pick six had Roger not slid short of the end zone, and, I know they're not trying to be gratuitous about it, but he made it to about the 5-yard line. All right, here's Nick Holtz talking about why Cam Ward is struggling as badly as he is and why it's pretty much by design. To watch practice and actually try to, discern something from our vantage point, Nick, as opposed to what you guys are trying to accomplish on a day-by-day basis.
For sure. We put the offense a lot of times in some tough situations. Like the other day, we had a bunch of 3rd and longs, and, those are completed or converted like 20%, in the conversion rate in the league. So we were sitting there, and, all of a sudden, he gets frustrated because he wants to have success and things like that, and you kind of can feel it, and the fans are out here. They want to see some conversions, and, it's 3rd and 11. We put him in a bunch of those and kind of teaching him to sometimes you just got to check it down, put the ball in play, and then that ball gets completed, and now you got a chance to, if it doesn't get the first down, still go and get more yards and maybe go 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. So those are all learning situations for him, and we've really made it tough on him from a lot of – our defense has a lot of fronts and coverages in, and we're really not in the league it's kind of called script pimping. You go look and see, okay, they're going to play Tampa 2 here. Let's put
Is that official terminology?
I think it's an official term. And so, you don't go over there and kind of do any give yourself a little competitive advantage. So he's really kind of seeing a lot of things for the first time. So it's been good. There's certainly, the turnovers, we'd love to not have those, but those aren't all on him either, so.
Now, I wouldn't pretend to be able to give you the proper context to that interception. I looked up and Roger McCreary was streaking back the opposite direction with the ball that Cam Ward threw. So I'm sure there have been updates on – well, actually, there aren't any updates on Twitter because there's not fans out here today. We're not allowed to live tweet said interceptions. Is that another interception? No, deep completion by Brandon Allen. Defender went up for it, but the – tight end looks like he was able to come down with it to advance the second team offense across midfield. Looks like they're working a little 2-minute right now with the Titans offense at what is probably about the end of practice. But, does that alleviate your concerns at all? That they're going out of their way to make this harder on him? That's exactly the way that you should prepare a young quarterback as far as I'm concerned. Not like I know anything about it, but just, it makes sense. Todd Bowles next week, Raheem Morris the following week, Brian Flores in the one home preseason game that they have before they go to Denver, and try not to get lit up by one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in a couple of categories in the NFL last year. Personnel changes, obviously. You can't, defense is tough to sustain year over year. But between road opener at Denver, 3 weeks later on the road at Houston, those are two of the best defenses according to DVOA in the sport last year. And there's reason to believe that Houston might be better. Colts and Rams are, I guess, Rams and Colts in between. Cam Ward is going to have to see a lot of different things, a lot of different looks, and they're trying to give him as many as humanly possible right now to ease that burden, to ease that degree of difficulty. It does make you feel a little better. It should make you feel a little better about the fact that Cam Ward is struggling as badly as he did. And I don't know how many of you were hanging out with us yesterday in the 11 o'clock hour when Nick Suss, who's the Titans beat writer for the Tennessean, came on the show and was talking about the expectation that fans have of Cam Ward. The expectation of Cam Ward is that he is going to go, or has gone, to each spot from high school to Incarnate Word, got better. From Incarnate Word to Wazoo, 2 years, got better. From Wazoo after 2 seasons to Miami, and was a Heisman Trophy finalist and was setting records for that program, a very proud football program that's got a lot of great players in its history, and Cam Ward is one of the best, as is Xavier Restrepo. Cam Ward has elevated himself at every stop of his football playing career, and it gets here, and he's having a hard time, which is exactly what people should expect. Exactly what people should expect. This is a situation so far beyond and above different from college football, and I don't need to tell you guys that. You know that this is the highest level of the sport and that there are plenty of good players, good collegiate players who struggle at the onset and figure it out. And I have a degree of confidence. I don't know a ton about Cam Ward as a pro yet. We're learning each and every day, just as he is. I've got a great degree of confidence in this player that he's going to be able to figure this out based on his track record. But it's not a guarantee, and it comes back to, I think, what Ramon posed to Lucas and Robert, and then they put it up as a poll yesterday. We didn't get to it today, or we didn't get to it yesterday, so we're going to make it a segment today. Where can Brian Callahan help Cam Ward the most? We're going to talk about that here in just a second. We're going to play some Callahan audio for you right after I remind you, speaking of Ramon Foster, that he's doing great work in the community, always doing things to give back. And this kicking off the school right back to school shoe drive is Ramon's latest venture, doing exactly that. He's teaming up with From Your Father to support the kicking off the school right shoe drive. And it's an incredible thing to help fatherless children in the Nashville community by providing shoes for kids in need so they can start off the school year on the right foot. You can help a child walk into school with confidence this year. Kids are mean. Kids can be very mean, especially if you're in a setting where apparel on a day-to-day, public schools where you get to pick what you wear, and kids can be bullies about what you're wearing, especially if your shoes are older or dingy or just any little thing that kids can harp on, right? So you can give a child, the ability to walk into school with confidence this year. Donate now by visiting 1045thezone.com and change a child's story this school year and help Ramon Foster do some good. 1045thezone.com, like I mentioned, is where you can go to do exactly that. So where can Brian Callahan help Cam Ward the most? We've talked at great length about this man's quarterback resume and how the only real black mark on it is the quarterback that's currently, or just had recently, 3 days ago, season-ending shoulder surgery. Will Levis is really the only bad thing to appear on Brian Callahan's resume. And, obviously the 2024 Titans in his first year as head coach. Is that the anomaly? Is that the exception? Or is there something more there that maybe the players that Brian Callahan coached would have been great regardless of who was coaching them? And we've been through the names on the list before. Peyton Manning was a veteran, established, successful quarterback by the time Brian Callahan was working with him in an assistant capacity in Denver. Matt Stafford, a high-level quarterback that while he was not a Super Bowl champion yet when Brian Callahan was with him in Detroit, was still obviously a high-level player and a number 1 overall draft pick as Tim Boyle throws an interception to the far side of the field. Looked like it was thrown across his body, and that's how practice is going to end, on a Tim Boyle pick, as we await Jarvis Brownley Jr., who's running out onto the field to congratulate his teammates, and we'll see about how he feels the competition between the offense and the defense has gone, understanding the defense is always going to be ahead in training camp. Defense appreciably ahead right now through the, I guess we could call it the first 2 weeks, even though they're going to practice tomorrow and on Sunday to conclude the third fully padded practice of the week. Where can Brian Callahan help this player the most? I think what Nick Holtz is talking about, the way that Brian Callahan, Nick Holtz, and Denard Wilson are conspiring, feels like the wrong word, but working in concert with one another to make Cam's life harder, to show Cam Ward as much as humanly possible before he starts dealing with unknowns in NFL defenses and then has to get as ready as humanly possible, him and his offensive line group, to be able to handle the Denver Broncos that led the league in sacks last year. Brian Callahan was asked, Ross, if we can start with the first clip on the sheet, about Cam's picks as repeated mistakes, or are they unique based on each individual play and each individual setting in which he's thrown these interceptions. This was Brian Callahan at the podium about 2 hours ago.
No, they all have their own story, based on route combination and coverage and what he sees and where his eyes are. They're all a little bit different. Tip balls, they happen. Those things, don't get it tipped is the best. I don't have a lot of coaching points for those usually, but they all have their own thing, and that's good. He doesn't repeat mistakes thus far. He's been pretty consistent in that. As we make a correction and he gets that right and moves forward, and usually don't see it again. So that's good. That means we're growing and we're getting better.
Okay. Do you take his word for it? Ross, you're a Titans fan. You're the resident Titans fan on the show. Does that inspire confidence for you?
I don't know if it necessarily affects my confidence other than the point about him not repeating mistakes. But I do like his answer about the tip balls and not trying to go too far into that because, like he said, there's not really a coaching point for that, potentially like arm angle on throws. But if it's a tip ball down the field, it's usually just a good defensive play.
And they're, again, the defense is allowed to make good plays out here. That is also something that needs to be emphasized. I don't know how good... What?
No, they're not.
What position did you play in college?
I played receiver.
Receiver? You?
Yes. White and Shiesty actually was my nickname.
The way that you just stuttered it out, it means you were leaking confidence about saying white shiesty into the microphone.
He had the Xavier Restrepo build, except he couldn't make it to this level.
And does not look as physically fit or have the hand-eye coordination of Xavier Restrepo whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm not in football shape, to say the least, right now.
Right now, that's generous. I would like. You know what? I need you to send me your favorite football picture of yourself from college, Ross, and I'm going to tweet it out, and we'll let the internet decide how in football shape you ever were.
He's a real lunch pail guy.
High effort.
Yeah,
I fit the stereotypes for sure. Did a lot of film.
God knows you fit a lot of stereotypes around here. So, as you talk about Cam's comments on the offense yesterday, right? Cam got a lot of or I guess that was 2 days ago on Wednesday. Got a lot of traction talking about how mid the offense was. Brian Callahan was asked about that as well today at the podium, about his quarterbacks. I don't know. Do we call it harsh critique or fair critique of what they've looked like? He seems to be the most realistic out of any of you, talking about the way that this thing is going. This is Brian Callahan responding to his quarterback's comments of mid.
Cam, he had categorized the offense as mid.
What does that mean?
I'm assuming it's mid-level, average, or below average.
Yeah.
Because he didn't seem happy when he said it. But where do you categorize this offense as far as where you guys are now? And is it kind of a case where the defense tends to just start ahead of pace? And that's what
I think we've been back and forth, truthfully. I think it's been a good competition. I think defense has had some good moments. I think we have as well. I think it's hard to see out here at practice, but I think our run game has really improved. We've had some nice runs that have gotten ripped off that I'm encouraged by. So yeah, there's definitely things that, we're 2 days into pads and going on our third day, and there's plenty to improve on. We certainly have work to do, but I've been pleased with the process. And again, the things that aren't good enough, we're coaching and working on. And I think Cam's in the same boat, and I'm happy that he doesn't feel like we've arrived. We got a lot of work ahead of us still to get ready to go play Denver here in 4 or 5 weeks, and I don't think anybody should feel satisfied about where we're at, but we certainly have some good things going on, and we're going to keep working.
And that honestly is the place that Brian Callahan at the podium earlier, that's honestly the place that I think that this coach can help this quarterback the most. And of course, there are things that could be talked about schematically by much smarter football people than me. Brian Callahan, when he's on the radio show, we're not sure if he's going to be on with us in Tampa or in Atlanta, but we're going to talk to Mike Borgonzi, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan, hopefully all three, throughout the course of the next 2 weeks while I am down there covering joint training camp practices for you guys. And I would be curious to hear a more football analytical perspective on the things that they can do to help scheme for Cam. But beyond that, Brian Callahan needs to be his biggest backup. Cam Ward is the person who doesn't come in here with baggage. He's the only person that really doesn't come in here with baggage. He's not associated with the losing of last year. God knows they did a lot of losing. They've done a lot of losing the last 3 years. You guys carry that around with you every day. That's something that people who have covered the team carry around with us every day. A lot of players on the roster, even though it's turned over tremendously, they have been a part of a largely losing culture that they are trying to shake themselves out of. Cam Ward has higher standards. So at every turn, the best thing that Brian Callahan can do, beyond helping the quarterback with schematic advantages, is to continue to make sure that that message is supported and echoed from every level of the organization, to continue to hammer it home that this is not good enough, that they are mid and that they need to get better. And even when they get better, it's still not good enough because they've got plenty of different things that they need to make up for or account for or overcompensate for as they try and work their way back into a significantly more competitive window. 615-737-1045 is how you can join the conversation. We're keeping an eye on players coming off the field. I see Jarvis Brownley right now. As a matter of fact, I think it looks like he might go do some jugs before he comes up here and joins us. Coach Mack at 11:20. Zack Lions has been out of practice. He's going to join us as well. Cory Curtis of WKRN News 2 in the noon hour, live from Titans practice at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. I'm so sick of Ross Johnson. I couldn't 3 days in a row with Run Rudolph. You know, there are a few things. I mean, obviously I get irritated by a lot of things. It's just kind of my personality. I don't know that I can do anything about that at this point in my life. But the idea that you are actively going out of way, because now you're just bothering the audience. Not only are you bothering me, you're bothering the audience. You don't want to play this game. I can get louder in the music, bud. What do you have to say for yourself?
I just love this song, and I love that it's in your playlist for the show.
Apologize.
For what?
To people, for bothering them, for being redundant, for being lazy, bad at your job, any of the things that you would like to apologize for. There's a list.
Are you assuming that people don't like this song?
I'm assuming that people are tired of hearing it after 3 straight days on the radio show like I am. Ugh.
I love it so much.
I've never taken so much lip from a D3 wide receiver in my life. Actually, that's not true, Mason Kinsey.
Damn right.
615-737-1045 is the number. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. We will await Jarvis Brownley Jr. In fact, Titans PR just texted me, coming up with Brownley now. So, Ross, yeah, we'll have Jarvis in this segment. And in the meantime, we can talk about what Brian Callahan is seeing in terms of the level of urgency for the team. That's obviously a topic I've brought up a great deal. Callahan was asked a couple of questions about this, and it was right after he was talking about the status of both Calvin Ridley and Tavondre Sweat, who did not practice. Sweat dealing with an abdominal situation. Calvin Ridley with just a day of rest. He seems to be out there now that practice is concluded, or at least we think he is. Catching passes from Cam after the fact. He is the only, or at least this player appears to be the only player not in uniform. But anyway, Brian Callahan talking about the level of urgency he's seeing from his team on the practice field.
Oh, they've been incredibly urgent. Our competition in practice has been high level. The urgency in the meeting rooms, the urgency on the field, it's been super competitive. Those things I've been very pleased with.
So that is Brian Callahan speaking earlier this morning. I don't know. He sees them far more often than we do, and I would not pretend to know more about the urgency of the team than the head coach, but I don't know. The more that I talk to my colleagues out here, whether it's Tehran or Koharski or Austin Stanley is out at practice today, I'm having a hard time see it the way that the head coach is indicating that they are getting enough out of it. And I thought Brett Kern articulated that very, very well. But you know what? I've got zero level of concern about in terms of the urgency. The defense, man. The defense been getting after that ass here in the last couple of weeks, and it is something that for the team may end up being to the benefit of Cam Ward and the young offense, the new look offensive line. But certainly you would like to see improvement by degrees as we work our way through the next couple of weeks. Actually, Ross, I see Jarvis doing an interview off to the side, still on the field. So we can stay here but talk more about the things that this team can do to help Cam Ward. And I mentioned Brett Kern and him talking about the urgency. That was a really fun interview that we did with him on the show on Tuesday. In fact, Brett and Bryce Kern are out here hanging out at practice again today. But I want to go back to something Kern mentioned that I didn't think we spent enough time on, about how much the special teams unit can help Cam Ward at this particular point in time with just something as simple as the changing of the punter. Ryan Stonehouse is somebody that Titans fans liked a lot, had a lot of confidence in him. Understandably, a very talented player. But Brett, I thought, did a good job articulating the differences between a player like Stonehouse and Johnny Hekker, who's coming in here to make sure that they can have an increased level of efficiency. And the way that Kern put it is something that's pretty inspiring to Titans fans and to the offensive unit when you think about just how big a difference this can make.
I mean, for example, Stonehouse, he gave up 692, 266 in 12 games, and 701 yards of returns, right? That's a lot of returns. If you do a 17-game average, that's 613 yards. Hekker, over his 13-year career, averages 211. So now you got a difference of 400 yards. That's 40 first downs over a season, right? You talk about hitting yardage. I'm sure Coach Mack preaches about hitting yardage. How can special teams win the hitting yardage? You look at touchbacks, right? Stonehouse was around 10 touchbacks a year. Hecker's around 4. That's 6. Now, if you got a punt that goes to the 5 compared to the 20, that's 15 yards of difference, right? And so now there's another 75 yards. So just alone in changing your style of punting to what Stonehouse did to now what Hecker does, you're looking at potentially over a season changing 45 to 50 first downs for your defense, which that's huge. Imagine if you could say, hey, Cam, we're going to give you 50 free first downs this year. I'm sure he would be, Coach Callahan, the whole offensive staff would be absolutely ecstatic about it.
Wouldn't you be? If your quarterback was told, hey, about a free 50 first downs or 50 more first downs than you got last time around based on the ability of just the punter and the special teams unit alone. Is that something that I could interest you in, Cam Ward and Brian Callahan? Of course. They're trying to find ways to improve efficiency across the board on this football team, and that's exactly what the incremental improvements on the roster are, what they are trying to get done. At some point, speaking of improved efficiency, we are going to have to hold – we don't have a Vols fan to torment around here, except I do have Joseph to my right. So he may have to take Lucas's role today because the Hendon Hooker experience. But you have a microphone in front of you. That was one of the ugliest preseason performances I've seen. Aren't they supposed to look better in preseason?
Did you see the guy that was in front of him?
No, they're all bad.
They were all bad.
They're all bad.
I don't know if that's the quarterbacks for Detroit or if that's Detroit's offense. Is everything just going?
Detroit's offense in the preseason, you think, is dragging down the high intensity, the high degree of difficulty of the preseason offense too much for Hendon Hooker?
Are they just running everything through Jared Goff and none of these other quarterbacks are getting any work? It's what it looked like. You saw first off, Callahan's 2 interceptions, hideous.
Those were gross.
Hendon Hooker's interception, not great. He only threw 6 passes, 3 for 6. Not really what you want to see when you're competing. As the Lions, you don't want to see that from either of those guys in a competition for your number 2 quarterback. It was ugly.
Well, I want to talk to somebody who actually knows something about football, which is why I'm happy that Jarvis Brownley Jr. is here now to hang out here with us. What's happening, Jarvis?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just a little closer to your mouth there with the microphone, if you would be so kind. I appreciate you.
Okay.
How was it out there today? A lighter day at practice, it seemed, or a shorter day at practice, it seemed. But y'all seem like you got some good work in on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it was great work. But you always strive and look for things that you could be better at. So I think we left a lot out there on the field today just by having the day off. You could kind of come back a little sluggish. So I think that's the things that we mainly got to work on right now. That's just when we have an off day. That first day coming back, we got to be more detailed and more disciplined. I think we had a couple of penalties out there, and you don't want that. So, man, I think that's the main thing, man. It's just being consistent throughout the day. And when we come back from that off day, when we got a long break, we got to come back in that first day and really lock in into the details and things like that. But so far, man, I think it was good. We had a good, solid day. Put a lot of work out there. There was a lot of competing. Got to work the 2-minute drill. And, we looked pretty solid out there.
Where do you get off sounding like a 10-year vet in year 2? Jarvis, that was straight out of the PR handbook. That's beautiful.
Man, just
Look
doing
at
it
Kaylee
for
back
a
there
year,
smiling.
man.
She's like a proud mom.
Just doing it for a year, man. I think, the more you do it, the more you get comfortable doing it and just speaking. So, man, I think last year really helped me out a lot.
Yeah, that's obviously not an ideal circumstance, and you guys are trying to improve overall in a variety of different phases. But for you, there has to be so much benefit in getting that early experience and going through those early struggles. And obviously you've been playing football your entire life at this point, so those kind of moments to overcome adversity are nothing new. That's every day in this game. But in particular, last year with you and Baker and the way that you guys filled in when Cheeto and Snead are dealing with injuries and all manner of different things, I'm sure that it got tough. Where was the toughest point that you were able to steel yourself a little bit and say, all right, we're gonna have to, this is what it's gonna be. We're gonna pick ourselves up. We're just gonna have to finish as strong as humanly possible, and then come what may in the following season.
I think the biggest adversity I faced last year, where I had to really lock in, was the Bills game. I kind of gave up a play where my odds was bad, and my DC kind of got on me hard. And from there, man,
that doesn't sound like Denard at all.
Because Denard, he got on me hard, and from there I let my emotions get the best of me. But I think looking back at that game, I realized that how much my guys believed in me, how much Denard had set a standard for me when I first got here. And, I just had to look back and look deep down to, where I came from and my why. And when I did that, man, it just brought me back to my gameplay, how I play. And from there, man, I think that's when it really smoothed it out for me. But, I knew it was going to be hard. It was going to be a tougher challenge. I was a rook coming in, and I had big shoes to fill. And, I was just ready for the challenge. And I had prepared myself so much. Denard had talked to me a lot. He was speaking to me every day. And the guys was just buying into me. And, that really gave me a level of confidence out the roof with just my guys believing in me being that young and coming in and making the plays that I was making. So big shout out to my defense, my coaches, and things like that.
Jarvis Brownley Jr. hanging out here with us after the third straight day of tight. Well, I guess they had a day off, but 3 straight padded practices, getting ready for a weekend worth of work, and then on down to joint work against Tampa, followed up by Atlanta. 12 straight days on the road.
Let's do it.
That's going to be interesting. Y'all are basically going on a little bit of a team field trip.
Yeah, no doubt.
With Denard in particular, and the system that he runs, your level of comfort coming in this year, understanding all the reps that you got last year, and just being able to play at a faster level, not having to think as much.
I think it's way better because he put a lot on me last year. And like I said, that was the challenge for me last year, man. Just me stepping up to be that dog in the room and to put it all on my shoulders. And I was thankful and blessed for him to do that and put me in that type of comfort zone, to put me outside my comfort zone. But this year you can see that I'm way more mature. I have grown. I'm still developing. Still a lot of things I got to learn. But you can see the process of me taking the steps that I need to take. And the playbook now is just, I just skim through it now like it's second nature. So now when I be on the field, now it's just based off learning formations, learning concepts, learning when it's certain down the distance, what routes to accept, learning when it is a certain down the distance based off his outside or inside release, what my progression should be and the route combination. So now, man, it's just getting those more gems and more knowledge from the vet guys like L'Jarius Sneed and like the Calvin Ridleys and the Van Jeffersons.
The room as a whole, and obviously, people are anxious to see L'Jarius get out here whenever he's able to, and dealing with the knee cleanup that he had this offseason. I know he's anxious to do as much as he's able to on the practice field ahead of you guys getting into the higher level competition here. How big of a benefit has he been to you, even though he's not been able to be on the field?
Man, he's been great. He's the kind of guy where he's genuine. He checks on me every day, make sure that, my headspace is right, making sure that, I'm doing the things I need to be good on the field, making sure, my body, I'm doing my body recovery. And the same way goes with Calvin Ridley. Those two guys, man, I can't ask for a better big brother than those guys. They check on me every day on the daily, consistently, and just make sure that I'm doing the right things in order to become that leader in the room or become that vet. And like I said, man, he's a guy where he sits there and he looks around and he looks around the room and he makes sure we're doing the right things. Like I said, man, like today when I come from up here and go into the field, he's gonna ask me how today went. How did you feel out there? How your body feeling? And those the type of guys that you love to be around. The guys that check on you, those the type of vets you want. And he's a genuine guy, man. He's a great guy. He loves to compete. So, man, I can't wait to have him on the side of me, man. When he's out there, it's a different feeling as well.
We don't get to see everything that you guys do. Obviously, we'll be out here for a handful of practices, but the meeting room, the locker room, the recovery, all these different things that are critical to you guys being able to perform as at a highest level as you can. Ridley seems to really have, not that he wasn't doing it last year, but we just seem to notice him doing it in so many different spaces beyond just the wide receiver room. And,
yes.
And you're saying that that's carried through to just about every position group.
Yes. And you could see it goes around the building a lot, man. And I think it's the coaches, the standard they set around the building with just us bonding, you know, and you can tell that the guys were more closer than we was last year, man. All the guys, we seem to get well along. You know, we hang out with each other. No matter if it's the DBs hanging with the O-line or the O-line hanging with linebackers, like we all try to get around and be around each other because, you know, that's what means the most, you know, just creating those relationships and having those bonds. So, you know, when we do get out there on the field and we are going to war together, that we're going to war for our brother. And, you know, it's a real bond out there, and it's a real feeling that you have for the man next to you.
But just even little things like I was watching some of the team-produced content that y'all have been doing, like that Neighbors bit that you and James did. That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But, like, I like it so much, Jarvis, because, you know, I can be a little hypercritical in a lot of situations, but, like, I just appreciate the authenticity of the two of you hanging out. And what you're speaking to, like that clip, I think embodies that for Titans fans who haven't been able to check it out. You can see it on the team's social media feeds. I'm sure it's on YouTube too, Kaylee, stuff like that. And it's an ongoing series with a couple of different players. Tell me about James, because I didn't really talk to James too much last year.
James, great guy. That's my brother. That's a guy that I've been with since I was 3-4 years old. We grew up together. So, man, for both of us, you know, it's a dream come true to be in the same organization where we both chased our dreams, we accomplished it. You know, we both made it to the National Football League. And to be on the same team, man, it's a wonderful feeling. It's an amazing feeling where, you know, you got that guy where y'all was once kids, you know, had the same dream, had the same goal, played with each other through high school, college ball. And now we here to keep pushing each other and keep striving. And it's no bond like me and his. We even stay right next door to each other. So, man, that just to show you how much love we got for each other, how much we care for each other. But James is a great guy. He's a kid that if you walked in his shoes, you would look and see how he made it out. And he's a tough cat, man. And his gameplay shows, and it's a reason why he play the game the way he do. And every day I go out there and I get on that green gas, I look at him, and he's one of the guys that give me an edge to keep going, you know, by hearing his story and knowing what he went through when we was kids. So, man, kudos to him. And he's a great kid, man, and has a great heart, and he love hard, and I appreciate him for how he go about his day, how he go about his work.
You see what this live stream chat is trying to get me to say?
Jarvis, are you a true Florida Jet?
In my voice.
Yeah, I'm a true. I'm a Miami guy. I'm a true Jet. A true Jet.
South Florida. South Florida. Y'all South Florida boys. Y'all are different. No doubt about it.
Yeah, that's Florida. That's Florida, yeah.
Joint practice coming up. By the way, you're listening to Jarvis Brownley off the practice field. We're going to let him get out of here. He's got stuff to do here in just a second. WGFX Gallatin, Nashville, your home of the Titans, 104.5. The Zone is where we are hanging out right now. Biggest thing you're looking forward to at joint camp, because you saw plenty of real wide receivers last year. I know you guys practiced against them as well, but Mike Evans a different animal.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame cat. Gonna have his gold jersey, his gold jacket soon. So I look forward to stepping in front of that guy. He's one of the guys that before I got in the National Football League I looked up to, and he was one of those top guys that I had on my receiver list. So and I think I won his jersey too. But, you look at the work, it's going to be great competition, Imono. And I look forward to, getting to know him and get some great gems from him because he's been around the game for a long time. And I also look forward to having a joint practice going against my cousin, Kalijah Cansey, Florida on Florida crime. But, yeah, man, you look forward to joint practice, man. You try to get to know new people, man. It's good to get to be around new guys and get around guys, that's in the National Football League. But I look forward to competing. We getting out there, we getting great work, and yeah.
Well, Jarvis, I always appreciate talking to you because I appreciate your genuine, your authenticity. Because Kaylee's going to tase me in the back of the neck if I let you get on with your workday here in a second. That's Jarvis Brownley Jr. hanging out here with us. We'll take a quick break. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Back here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome in. The second hour is upon us. Coach Dave McInness will be with us shortly. I told Zack Lions I was going to make him wait around until 11:45 to, basically babysit me. But maybe we let him get on with his day, and he can pop on with us right now if he's so inclined. Practice has just concluded. We enjoyed our visit with Jarvis Brownley Jr., the second-year corner that talks like a 10-year pro. Defense has been significantly ahead of the offense, but that is the norm. That's okay. Improvement, as long as it comes, is what we're looking for here. And Zach, why are you standing back there like that?
I don't know. Where? How much of a delay is
it's
this?
Behind.
There I am.
Look at you creeping into the Make that less awkward, please.
Well, can I sit down?
I can't stand to sit down.
Next to you?
You can if you would like to. I don't
want to get in your space.
Well, you know how I feel about that.
Yes, I do.
Jackson is one of the people that I still require to social distance from me, 6 to 10 feet at all times.
JR is still in the chat after you berated him the other day on air. I like that. Glutton for punishment, that JR guy is.
Is that the Levis guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's got bigger problems than me. Of course, you can hear cover 2 right after this show. The venerable Blaine Bishop and the less venerable Zack Lions actually making things significantly smarter around here on a regular basis. Football and Other F Words, the podcast. And now F Words comes to your Titans radio post game with Kevin Dyson. I got an email about that yesterday. Look at you moving up in the world.
Yeah. Well, I did Titans talk back, all, week last year. All year last year. Terrible timing, by the way, to cover that game. And
welcome to the club, bud.
It was a bad. And for some crazy reason, they decided, hey, we got Kevin Dyson. Let's make sure that we annoy the ever-living piss out of him and get me and Stoney together so we could talk about Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon for like 3 hours after a preseason game.
Oh, all right. He's not an empty chair out there, as Coach, speaking of venerable, the venerable Coach Dave McInness would say. Is that, because I know Stoney is a offensive line savant.
Yeah.
Is that where you have been most focused? I know you're bopping around. This is your first year being able to come out at practice. You weren't doing that last year.
No, I wasn't doing that last year. First time. I've been kind of scooping around. Been going mainly offensive line, but I think we're to the point where the offensive line has done enough and looked pretty well, fared pretty well against the defensive line that I can move on to other stuff. Been watching Cam today. Of course, everybody's watching Cam every day, regardless. Wide receivers are a big thing. I'm looking at James Prochet, who just had a great conversation with everybody down on the field. And the first things that, someone asks, what do you think about your, good days or whatever here that you're stacking? And he goes, yeah, y'all want to talk to me now.
Yeah. Oh, if Robert Walsh was here, he would be so petty because Bert still hates him for throwing an interception as a Raven against the Browns.
But he has stacked good days, and I've been a big proponent that this team at least is keeping 6 wide receivers.
Y'all want to talk to me now is crazy for the 7th wide receiver. Come on.
Yeah, 7th wide receiver, probably
James Williams is about to be a starting linebacker. I didn't talk to him all last season.
Yeah. James Williams,
probably on me.
Starting linebacker for sure, I think. I don't know. This team has a weird vibe to it. You've kind of touched on it. You call it a lack of urgency. Brian Callahan, of course, backs up his team and disputes it.
Yeah, but
it seems very focused. It's a weird energy. I agree that from a perception of prior practices or even games that you may have watched, that seems low energy from the offense, but it feels like it's more focus. And that's kind of what he said. That's what I said a couple of days ago. Maybe he just heard me on the radio. It's I'm going to steal that. But that's what it feels like.
That radio ego not lost on him, huh?
No, it's already here. I learned from the best.
Well, what can you do? I think so. You were down on the sideline when Joseph was staring through his cupped eyes, trying to pretend like they were binoculars to see who.
Scientifically, that works.
It's like cupping your mouth to yell louder.
Yeah.
I don't think that actually works unless you're up against somebody's ear that way. But what is science out here? Go ahead and try it, Jackson. Tell me about the interception that I saw Roger McCreary get, because it looked like Cam had a smoother day than the past 2 days. But then I'm looking up as Roger McCreary is streaking back towards the opposite end zone, which with what should have been a pick six.
Yeah, I think Roger McCreary just made a really good play at the end of the day.
Good.
There are some concerns. I get that Cam Ward is a big proponent of the sidearm and all that kind of stuff. But I have to say that with the sidearm comes this kind of, I heard Brad Hopkins talk about this natural ability for the defense to just get it to it very easily. I think that's why, I think my microphone is dying, by the way. I think that's why we have seen so many, yeah, that's way better. I think that's why we've seen so many tipped passes is because of the sidearm. And when you have a tipped pass on those tipped passes, basically it makes it really easy for the defense to get their hands on because it's coming to body level, right? Like, and I get that that's what he did in college because I was talking to Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports, and he goes, well, why is this a problem now and not at the college level? I was like, well, we all talked about that there are certain things you can get away with in college. This seems to be one of them.
He's finding out what he can't get away with.
Right. He's testing it. I don't think it's a habit. I think he's trying to test to see what he gets away with. And so the tipped passes, the interceptions, I think this is all part of the learning curve. But to me, from our angle, that looked like a really good play from Roger McCreary. It was a sideline throw, and he just broke on the ball at the right time.
Would you keep Roger next year?
I would. I'd keep Roger, Amani, and right now Chig. I mean, draft, develop, and retain, right? I mean, these guys have gotten the most out of Chig, probably, that we're going to see this year. I think with Amani Hooker and Roger McCreary being with Denard Wilson, as long as he's here next year, these are guys that you would want to retain after you drafted them. And I know that this would be the second new contract for Amani Hooker outside of his rookie one, but I think you need to keep all these guys. I think they're good cornerstone pieces.
I'm inclined to agree with you, but I think that's why Jarvis Brownley was initially brought here.
I think so, but I think he's changed the plan because everybody's idea was, okay, well, Jarvis Brownley Jr. was like, okay, well, he's going to be the nickel to supplant Roger McCreary, and I said, well, according to his college tape, he could play outside too. I wouldn't be surprised if they play him outside mainly, and sure enough, maybe it's because of injuries, but he's kind of earned that role on the outside. So if you can keep, to your point, Marcus Harris is the guy that you would be probably keeping an eye on.
He was playing a lot of safety.
Yeah.
Playing a lot of safety.
Yeah, we don't know what Marcus Harris is in real games, but I would be inclined to keep those three guys, including Roger McCreary.
There's just not enough good football players on this roster to start turning your nose up at football players who are at least, if not average, slightly above.
Right. You got the money too. You still have like $29 million in cap space that's going to roll over next year. So, yeah, might as well just pay some people. Pay good players. Pay your good players.
What are y'all talking about today?
We're going to be talking about a lot about Cam Ward because,
breaking news.
Surprise, surprise.
High-level stuff.
We're going to talk about this energy level, Brian Callahan's comments on the energy level, and we're also going to talk about
Where's
James
Blaine
Prochet.
been on that?
He kind of sides, first off, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Now, come joint practices, maybe there's something there to critique.
Sure.
There's nothing to critique. He kind of leans into the more they're kind of focused kind of deal, but he said, it's not a big deal. Is kind of where he lands.
Yeah, I trust Blaine.
I would trust Blaine infinitely more than me.
Pretty much implicitly.
Hey, Zach.
Yes.
Are y'all going to talk about Chig's blocking today?
No talking about Chig's blocking. I've apparently been banned from talking about Chig's blocking on cover 2.
Also, he does not look that physically different to me. I saw
You don't think he does?
No, I think he looks exactly the same as he's looked every year he's been here.
I don't know. He looks noticeably thicker. A muscular man. Looks pretty hot.
2C.
Hot Chig summer, as they say.
Hot Chig Summer in his bright pink shirt. You had
pink lemonade.
You had a yellowish orange microphone earlier.
Yeah.
We had literally just flip flop. That's a very interesting shirt choice.
There you go. I'm not afraid real men wear pink, as they say.
That's what I hear.
Yep.
615-737-1045. We're going to let Zach get on with his day. Of course, you can hear him from 1 to 3 with the main man, Blaine Bishop. Thanks for stopping by, bud.
No problem. Appreciate it.
That is Zack Lions of Blaine and Zach. 1 and 3, like I mentioned. 1, 2, 3, like I mentioned. Coach Dave McInness of Titans Radio will join us via the phone. He's got a bunch of things to do. So Mac is here at the facility, but he's got OTPs to tape, so he's going to call into the show coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. It's one of our favorite segments of the week. It might be my favorite segment of the week. It's Coach Dave McInness of Titans Radio, presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Online at tworiversford.com. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Max coverage of the Titans, of course, is award-winning. And if I'm not mistaken, Ross, he's on the line now. Mac, how are we living on this Friday?
Good, Mark. Good, Mark. Yeah, I just got off a couple of those calls I told you when I saw you today that I'd be on. So here we go.
Here we go, and we're in the midst of it. We've wrapped up another padded practice, 2 more days of work here at Ascension St. Thomas before y'all take off for the full 12-day sprint through Tampa and Atlanta and the joint practices that they're getting in. Mac, we've been talking a lot about Cam Ward, obviously, and what everybody is seeing out there from him on the field versus what the coaches are trying to accomplish on the field. And I really love the way that Nick Holtz and Brian Callahan have been talking about it, ramping up the degree of difficulty to prepare him for Todd Bowles next week, Raheem Morris the following week, and Jeff Ulbrich, their defensive coordinator, Brian Flores in a preseason game before Vance Joseph in Denver.
Yeah, well, and it's not only getting ready for those guys, it's getting ready for the reality of what the National Football League is. I mean, that's just the truth. He's going to be the quarterback, and he's on a pretty fast track. But still, the learning curve has got to be the curve. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So there's going to be the thing that you don't want to do, Buck. I mean, you just don't want to coddle a young quarterback that's going to play, because that's not the reality that he's going to face when he starts playing against people. You got me? Hello.
Oh, I got you, Mac. My bad. My battery pack died and everybody left me.
All right. Well, anyway, what I'm saying is there's nobody that he's going to play against this year, even in the preseason, that's going to take it easy on him. That's just not what happens in the National Football League. I spent a lot of years as a defensive coordinator trying to wreck young quarterbacks. And so that's exactly – so you're not doing him any favors if you're soft pedaling what you're doing with him. Now, he's got to get progressions, and progressions are important. But look, he's going to have a lot thrown at him by other people. So you might as well make it as tough as you can right now to give him an idea of not only what it's going to be like, but how he's going to react.
In your professional opinion, how is he handling it?
He's fine. I mean, he doesn't worry about the outside noise. I mean, he doesn't listen to any of that. He doesn't listen to anybody else's opinion that doesn't matter. And there's always going to be noise around quarterbacks and coaches in this league. And there's noise around players, but quarterbacks in particular, and especially coaches. So if you're in this business, you got to learn. You clearly have to learn how to just block all of that out, because it really doesn't matter. What matters is what you are learning within the context of your football team and what you are learning personally as a professional. The rest of it, I mean, what anybody says that doesn't have any bearing on your future makes no difference.
He's Coach Dave McInness of Titans Radio. Of course, you can catch him on the OTP. Titans Radio back in the swing of things officially next weekend with a preseason game. Taylor Zarza, Rhett Bryant, Coach Mack, of course. They'll have Will Bowling. Will is doing this road trip, yes?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be the sideline reporter for the road, and then Amy's going to be the sideline reporter for the home games. So he will absolutely be there, Buck.
Well, it makes me so happy because then I get to hang out in the booth with all of you guys again. It's football season right around. I mean, we're in the midst of it now, but it just feels a little more real once we get the Titans radio machine up and rolling, and I know you guys are excited to kick this thing off for yet another season. Mac, you spent a lot of time specifically with the linebackers today. Cody Barton and what he's brought to this team. He seems, and he's been in a couple of different places around the league. This is by far and away not his first training camp, but he just seems to be, one, such a positive influence on the defense and on such a young linebacker core to really help them bring along and give them some additional tools to be able to take the next step in their respective careers.
Well, I think you got a great read on that. I mean, he's been a settling force. He really has been. for this linebacker group, and for Frank Bush. I mean, the guy's a professional. I don't know. Have you talked to him yet? Have you spent some time just talking with him?
Yeah, we did a sit down at OTAs, and I spent about 12 minutes one-on-one with him. He's just really, really an interesting guy and a smart player, obviously.
Yeah, but he's a solid pro. And when I talked to him earlier in the week when his wife was here at one of the practices, and I just told him. Of course, he knew my background, and I told him, look, I mean, he's a settling force. Any good linebacker group I've ever had, Buck, in my career, the middle linebacker had to be a calming force. And especially with the two young guys that he's going to have flanking him, depending on which one plays the most. I think they'll both play quite a bit. Those young guys, that's such a great asset for them to have. They don't have to worry about where to line up, how the offense is lining up, what they're looking at. They've got a guy that can direct them so that they can just get their eyes trained. And Frank Bush is a really good a linebacker coach. I've seen him bring along a lot of guys in my career working with him. But if they've got a guy that they can trust in the middle to take a lot of the mental load as far as the pre-snap stuff off of these young linebackers, that's a big jump ahead for both of them. And Cody Barton, to your point, and I think you make a great point, he is fully equipped to do that. I'm really glad he's here.
Coach Dave McInness here with us on 104.5 The Zone. We're always happy when Mac's here hanging out with us. Lucas and Robert both abandoned me on this Friday, Mac, so I'm glad at least I have some level of competency to help me get through the show. James Williams is somebody who's getting a ton of work, and Brian Callahan was very complimentary of him today. It's not the first time. Obviously, he's such an impressive athlete first and foremost, but where are you seeing him refine his skill as opposed to just realizing potential?
I've seen his body position has changed as far as the way. Look, he's a big, long. He's a lot like Keith Bullock was. Keith Bullock was a big, long dude. That was a safety that came down, and so when you drop in from that third level, I mean, you're used to seeing the game from a more upright position, correct? Because you're looking sideline to sideline. As you move closer to the line of scrimmage, you got to lower your center of gravity because you've got to move very quickly in a very short space. And with longer limbed guys, high cut guys, as we say, then they've got to work on keeping that leverage down. If you watch practice today, I know you did. If you watch Frank Bush today, he had him going under that tent, that net thing, shuffle down and then breaking out to make a tackle, but bending at the hips, not bending over at the waist, but bending at the hips, bending at the knees, flexing your ankles so that you can't start straight-legged because you're going to have to bend sooner or later to move. I think that's one of the biggest things that he's done. And then he's trained his eyes. Always been playing linebacker, I used to have a huge sign in all my linebacker rooms that just said eyes before feet. You've got to know what you're looking at before you start moving. And to really play good at the second level in this league, the speed that it happens, you've got to be able to get ahead of blocks. And there's no way that you can get ahead of the blocks if you're not looking in the right place. So those are the two areas that he's really, really come a long way with. I can see Bush's coaching taking effect. And then plus, once they get into team, you can tell, look, he covers a lot of space. When he's back there in those zone match drops, he can cover a lot of space. He's got a good quick trigger, and just because he's learning how to play with flex, he's able to move quicker. I mean, because as I said, the closer you get to the line of scrimmage, the more flex you've got to get because you've got to move in shorter distances. I really like what he's doing. Now, again, really, you watched him last year some at the end of the year. He was starting to come on, but he was just doing most of that on a whole lot of athletic ability. Yeah. And his recognition stuff was still in a very infant stage. I think he's moved a lot. He's moved a lot further in his vision and what he's looking at and his triggers, like we like to talk about at the linebacker position. His triggers have gotten a lot better.
You had a whole lot of players forced into action last year out of necessity, injury, and that's the case with every season. But this roster in particular is in a younger phase of its competitive cycle. Was eye discipline the biggest issue, you would say, for the second level and then the secondary as they were, and I understand that special teams was not putting them in advantageous positions in a lot of those situations as well. But would you describe that as a defense-wide problem last year that they've been working to correct?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a defense-wide, but look, the first thing that happens when you start struggling on defense is everybody tries to make too much happen too soon. Does that make sense? Rather than just the playing. You've got to play with a controlled rage on defense, but you've also got to be very precise of what you're looking at and seeing, and you just can't get out of whack and start just running amok back there, and when you're struggling and you're trying, and the tendency is try to overanalyze to make a play because you're struggling to have anything good happen. I mean, it can have a pretty much of a cascading effect on everybody.
Mac, you have been going around mic'd up and on camera to positions, different positions, a couple of different positions here in the first couple of weeks of training camp. Those pieces have not yet aired, right?
No, they won't air. It's for Microsoft and it's for Titans All Access. It's going to take a while. We got so much footage because I spend the whole 2.5 hours with one position group, as you said, with the camera person who's also the director of it. There is so much footage. It takes them a while to edit that. I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, you've been involved with television stuff before. You shoot so much footage, you'd like to be able to use it all, but time constraints hold you back. But Microsoft, I've done stuff for them for the last 8 years with that beneath the surface feature, and they wanted some real detail, so we're giving it to them.
Well, we all benefit from it, and we look forward to when that does debut on Titans All Access. I've been watching Mac doing the thing in real time, and I know Titans fans are going to appreciate it. Mac, have a great Friday. Thank you, as always, for the time, brother. We do appreciate you.
Buck, you're the best. That's the way to hold the fort down. Everybody else left you.
They accuse me of mailing it in, but I'm on to them, Mac. They probably went to Russia together to reclaim Lucas's stolen property.
I'll see you. Bye.
That's the main man. Coach Dave McInness of Titans Radio, made possible by Two Rivers Ford. Speaking of broadcast professionals, Cory Curtis, WKRN News 2, is here with us at our setup at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We know, CC.
You know what? You want the honest truth?
I do.
I forgot about practice this morning.
Well, they sprung one on us. We were not prepared for a work day today. They said, no, we need a little more time and pads.
Look,
y'all got to schlep back in here too.
I wasn't coming until after I dropped my daughter off at her friend's house. But as I was driving her, I go, oh crap, I gotta go to practice after this. And I've seen myself, like, you know how you get like in the backdrop on a lot of pictures out there when they're doing interviews?
Yes.
I'm like, I look like hell today.
Just, you're doing the dad thing. You're taking care of your important responsibilities first, and then if you happen to slide out here to practice, I know giving great insights for the WKRN News 2 audience as well. So we've talked about a lot of different things. Obviously, we've gotten a lot of people's opinions or insights on what we've been able to watch. What has been your biggest takeaway through now almost, because they'll practice tomorrow and Sunday as well, almost 2 weeks of Titans training camp?
Well, I mean, obviously the lack of flow on offense to start was glaring. I mean, and I thought today was a little bit better. I mean, they need to make some plays, and I'm not talking about just like Mason Kinsey and Bryce Oliver and some of those guys. They need some of the standout players to make some plays. I mean, Tyler Lockett caught some balls today. Van Jefferson caught some balls today. So I thought there was more good stuff there. But I think Big Jeff obviously stands out. This is an important year for him, and he has treated it as so. To this point, and he looks the part. And they've got guys who look the part, and you've got to wait and see on it. It's early. I mean, it's just early. There's a lot of turnovers that we talked about that last year, and we wondered what it meant. And so here we are again this year.
What do you think it means? It means 3-14, kids. Yeah. Strap in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the difference is can your quarterback learn from it? And I think this quarterback, one of the big changes, Buck, that I look at this football team, I'm one of my favorite sayings always is hope is not a strategy.
Yeah.
And for this team,
I need you to say that a little louder for the fan base.
For about 3 years, the strategy was to hope guys popped on the offensive line and developed. Well, this year they stopped hoping, and they went out and they filled all the spots. And so, look, if it doesn't work out, it's not because they didn't try or have a plan. They took those steps. They have 5 paid professionals up front, and so the quarterback should be in a better position to develop in that situation.
And the same tests that they are throwing on the practice field at Cam Ward apply to the offensive line as well, which is going to be critical for them to try and get as much continuity together down as humanly possible before week 1 in Denver, because Vance Joseph's going to try and light their asses up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I talked to Kevin Zeitler today. And I
haven't talked to him yet. How is he?
He's great. I mean, Wisconsin guy, so he is a true offensive lineman. And I saw Jeff just put him on his can on day 2.
Sure.
And I was like, wow. And then when you get up to Zeitler and you see just how big he is, it makes what Jeff did that much more impressive.
It's like that dude from the Seahawks that he just ragdolled last year in those one-on-ones. You remember that clip went viral? I can't remember the guy's name.
I'll never forget when he took the dude from, was it Kenyon Green from the Texans?
Yes.
And he tackled the running back with him. I mean, Jeff is capable of some freakish things, which is why you keep expecting the blow-up year. He's been a very good player for this team, but you expect, the Chris Jones type of year, to come, and we'll see if that comes this year.
Cory Curtis, WKRN News 2, hanging out here with us at Cory Curtis 2 on Twitter is where you can follow along.
Still calling it Twitter. Me too. I won't give it up.
Well, I appreciate that on the Titans preseason broadcast, which of course CC is a part of as well. The X polls that he poses during the preseason broadcast.
I got the first one ready to go
for you all to participate in. Look at that. He's been sitting on this for 6 months, kids, just for Titans preseason football. Tampa Bay next week. Obviously, you'll be there, and as will I, and not everybody from Titans media, but a good portion of us to see them take part in one joint training camp practice against the Bucs before the preseason game on Friday night, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a Saturday night. The next week against the Falcons is a Friday night.
Okay, I may need to adjust my travel schedule as a result. I thought that game was on Friday, but I'm going to fix that. Anyway.
Well, if it's on Friday, I may miss it.
No, you would probably know better than me. I'm going to have to change my Southwest flight, but that's fine. Tampa, real receivers, defense, I wouldn't say has been really tested yet. They have been testing the offense more than the offense has tested them. What are you most looking forward to from a matchup standpoint on either side of the ball?
Well, is Godwin full go yet?
I have not seen anything to that effect. I did see that Baker's missing some time.
Yes, he's got, I guess, a hand bruise.
Hand contusion.
Yes. But, you got Mike Evans. Now you throw Emeka Egbuka to the mix, along with K-Dot and the two backs. White and Bucky Irving. I mean, they got a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
They're a full-grown football team.
I can't believe we collectively as a league let them draft the Ibuka kid out of Ohio State. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
why do the Bucs get all the wide receivers and the Titans can't figure out one, and the one they had they sent away?
It always feels like the rich get richer, right?
By the way, what'd you make of that J-Rob interview yesterday?
I did not hear it. What do I need to hear?
That's the thing for me. And it's, I thought Chase and Joe did a fine job with it. Like, they actually asked the questions.
He's limited on what he can say. There's what we know and what we can say. The bottom line is, Deebo Samuel tried the same thing.
Yeah.
And the 49ers said, no, you're a part of this football team. And the Titans could have done the same thing.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
But when you think you can replace somebody, and it's. They've had what? 3?
How's that going?
Derek Mason, Drew Bennett, A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
I've been here since 2003. That's about it.
I'm sitting there watching practice with D Mace yesterday, and he's talking me through some Alec Iamana routes, and I'm just looking over at him. I'm like, you're an old man, and you still lead this team in receptions and yards. Receiving. Still, as far as I know, I think that he's still got the Ravens record, too.
Well, he had the single-season all-purpose yards record. And, truthfully, and this is not me just being a homer, really one of the more underrated NFL careers ever.
D-Mace?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
don't let him hear me say that, because I've been talking smack to him for a long, long time, since I was his intern 100 years ago.
My first season here was 2003 or 4. And I think it was 3. It was 2003. And I remember I got here in July, and I came out to camp, and I watched camp for 2 days, and I told John Dwyer, he was the sports director then, I said, Derek Mason's going to catch 100 balls. And he goes, you're crazy, because that's not the way the Titans played. And I'm like, I'm just telling you, I watch him and McNair, he caught 96. You could just...
Did Dwyer come back to you and be like, see, I told you. You don't know anything, Curtis.
You could just
fraud.
See. And Mace is quick, and he was a pro. He was a football player.
Yeah.
I mean, not just a receiver. He could do it underneath. He could do it over the top. It was having him go. Look, having all those guys go and after 2004 the way they did was tough. Yeah. But, some were tougher than others, and that was certainly one of them.
God, Titans fans have just had a bunch of trauma. Nick Suss at the Tennessean has been putting out a survey for Titans fans about it's similar to your preseason questions that you can soon see on the Titans preseason broadcast with CD, Charles Davis, and
We've
Paul
got the
Burmeister.
first 2 games. The third game is a national game on CBS.
Oh, the rare nationally televised Titans game. Let's slap it on the...
Well, they didn't have any in the regular season, so they gave one in the preseason.
Week 3 of the preseason is crazy. NBC, Sunday Night Football. Come on down. That's gross.
Nick Suss's poll question.
Suss has been asking a lot of these questions about, like, the future of the Titans as Titans fans perceive it. Like, do you think that Callahan is on track to be a good coach, a bad coach, an average coach? Cam Ward, the same. Do you believe that ownership is making decisions to put them in the right direction? Are they in a good spot? All these different things. Where are you with the current state of this franchise as a whole, beyond just the product that we're talking about on the field for 2025?
Well, look, they need stability, number one. But stability comes from one thing.
Hope she hears you.
No, but stability comes from winning.
Yeah.
And, and what drives winning in the NFL? Having a quarterback. I mean, I grew up in Chicago. I'm a Bears fan. Now, how much stability have the Bears had over the years?
Did you feel a bit of trauma reading Caleb Williams?
No, that was terrible.
Inside thoughts?
But these teams that struggle to find a quarterback, and there are numerous ones of them, they also, they burn through coaches because not many can survive. I mean, even we're talking about Mike Tomlin's time with the Steelers in trouble because they've struggled to replace Ben.
Yeah.
The Colts were great for 25 years when they had Peyton and Andrew Luck. What are they now?
The corpse of Matt Ryan.
They're a hot mess.
Yeah.
And so if Cam Ward is the guy, you will see much more stability follow in this organization because they will win more games. Like most of these coaches out here know how to coach. And it's like that. Like there are the occasional coaches who fall into the situation, and like Nathaniel Hackett in Denver, where you're just like, what is he doing? Yeah. Most of these guys know how to coach, and that's not saying coaching doesn't matter because it does matter. But this: the Jimmies and the Joes matter the most. Okay,
infinitely more.
And when you don't draft well, and this team, J-Rob had 3 complete whiffs in a row in the draft, and then you can look at the last couple with Rand, and there are already holes in it. They have not drafted well enough. And so if they draft well enough and Cam works out, I predict Callie will be here for a while. And if they don't draft well enough, you know what? He's going to go be an OC somewhere else.
He's such an interesting figure in all of this to me. I don't know. Like, I have no question in my mind that, like you say, he's a good football coach. I just don't know what the elevation to CEO.
That's a
head
different
coach.
Role. It's a different role because
I think he's smart enough to figure it out by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's detailed and thorough enough in the way that he goes about his preparation and how he's tried to implement the offseason program that's carried into training camp and the scoring system and the sins and all these different things. But I don't know. I'm still waiting to see it, and I'm not quite sure what it is, I guess.
Well, when you're the head coach, and there are certain head coaches that are more offensively or defensively, keen to the situation, like Andy Reid or Sean Payton, or defensively you've got some guys who can dial it up. But when you look at the head coach, you need that CEO, without question. I mean, like, did Mike Ditka ever drive you as just a rocket scientist as a football man? But no, he was an effective leader, and that's what always struck me about Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel commanded a room. And I'm sure he commands a room right now in New England.
Buddy, he's commanding an entire organization from everything I can tell.
And so, you as the head coach, you need to be more than X's and O's. You've got to be able to lead a football team. You've got to be able to lead 53 men. They've got to believe in what you're doing, believe in what you're saying, and believe that you are the guy to get them across the finish line. And so, that's, when you start 3-14, you've got some battles to overcome. But I'm old enough to remember Jimmy Johnson going 1-15 with the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? They were god-awful. They were horrible. He's one of the best head coaches, GMs in NFL history. And what was the difference for Jimmy Johnson? When he started drafting some players.
Exactly right.
And when he got some players in there, you know what? He could coach. Shoot, Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl with his players. And again, I'm not
Poor
trying.
Barry Switzer is always on the butt end of that joke.
Well, it's because he wasn't a very good head coach.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to discount the value of the head coach, but I'm just saying it's a players' league.
Players matter more.
It's a players' league.
Cory Curtis, it's great to see you, bud.
Good to see you, Buck. Especially get Lucas out of here. Gosh.
Yeah, an ally. Yeah, dead weight.
I just do that because he's gone.
I know it. Lucas has been holding things together around here for quite some time, but we appreciate you filling in and babysitting in his stead.
Who brings chocolate outside in July?
Me, because I like chocolate-covered almonds. Well, I made them go get it for me.
I like them too, but I also like to be able to function with my fingers for the rest of the day.
No, they're fine. It's not hot today. Like yesterday, they were melting.
I asked some of the players about it, and they were like, oh, absolutely, this matters today. And I think it's one of the reasons they look better today is because it's a lot easier to function out in this.
Well, you better get ready for Tampa, bud.
That's going to be hot. It's going to be hot.
CC, WKRN News 2. Cory Curtis 2 is where you can find him. I got a mouthful of chocolate-covered almonds. We'll take a break. Friday Fire is next. If you are dealing with feelings of financial insecurity, you know that's the worst. And that's what Trajan Wealth is here to help you through. The fiduciary advisors at Trajan Wealth understand that no two retirement plans are the same. They offer guidance on a variety of financial objectives, including ways to earn higher potential returns and tax concerns. And if you're interested in wealth management that's designed to protect, maintain, and expand your financial portfolio, Trajan Wealth understands the importance of tactical investments and tailored insights for growth in line with your risk tolerance. Financial independence is just what we're all striving for, and that's something that Trajan Wealth can help you accomplish with a plan specific to you. You can visit them at two of their locations or at either of their locations, Brentwood or Franklin. Call them 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000. Or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
Buck Rising is one of the least positive people on the planet. So to combat that, we've installed a new segment where he's forced to be positive. This is Friday Fire.
Because it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do.
Ross, we have a giveaway for Friday Fire. If the people call us on this Friday, 615-737-1045, and tell us the thing that made them happy this week, whether it happened to you personally, professionally, in your sports life, or otherwise. 615-737-1045 is the number that you call, and if you give us the best one, you win what?
They will win 2 tickets to see Coheed and Cambria with Taking Back Sunday at Ascenda Amphitheater on September 3rd.
Ooh, Taking Back Sunday, I know. I'm unfamiliar with the work of Coheed and Cambria, but I assume that it is as teenage angsty as Taking Back Sunday got me through a good portion of, I think, somewhere between prepubescent and puberty period. That is a That's a strong callback. Are you familiar with Taking Back Sunday, or are we just old now?
You're just old.
Yep, that sounds about
A
right.
decade older, to be exact.
I don't like that.
That's a really hard thing for me to deal with players, too. The fact that I'm 10 years older than players now. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. That's not my Friday Fire. 615-737-1045 is the number if you would like the opportunity to win those tickets. Stoney Keeley is saying Coheed and Cambria rips. So if you want to be like Stoney, you can go to that practice. Joseph has a Friday Fire for me. Are you going to give your own? Is this your Friday Fire?
Can I take it as my own? Do you have one, or
No,
do you want to take
go
this?
ahead. I guess if you're going to be out here working with me, I can give you the opportunity to speak.
Okay, my Friday Fire is going to be this weekend. The MLB is coming to Tennessee for the very first time. They're playing 2 games in Bristol.
I do like that.
And in game 1, it is 2 Tennessee natives starting pitching for both the Braves and the Reds. Spencer Strider out of Knoxville will be starting for the Braves, and Chase Burns, former Vol, also former Hendersonville native, will be pitching and starting for the Reds. So that's pretty cool. For the first time,
That is cool.
baseball's coming to Tennessee to have 2 Tennessee kids starting.
Full circle.
Joseph might have to win those tickets, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to do better than that.
Well, I don't think
well done.
nobody's on the line.
Well, that's hurtful.
We had one person call in, but he's not on anymore.
615-737-1045. My Friday Fire is that the Hendon Hooker Titans conversation is dead. Dead, you hear me? It's dead. I don't ever want to hear about it ever again. I love the passion of Vols fans. I love the way that you support your own. I love that Ron Slay is blind in his fandom at every given turn, and then it's go Vols all day, all the time. But Hendon Hooker last night was an atrocity. An atrocity, Joseph. He's the closest thing to a Lucas Vol punching bag that I can have, since Lucas is out floating a river somewhere. Hendon Hooker last night in the Hall of Fame game that we have not yet talked about. Football was back last night. It was disgustingly beautiful. A fumbled kickoff return on the opening dynamic kickoff. The Lions giving the ball back to the Chargers in that spot. Hendon Hooker, 3 of 6, 18 yards and a pick while taking 2 sacks. Defend your boy. Go ahead.
I can't.
Yeah, that means it's over.
I do have a question.
That's
though.
my Friday Fire.
I do have
no more Hendon Hooker talk.
I do have a question though.
God.
Were Vols fans right about the Hendon Hooker Will Levis, or like
No.
is that debate settled?
Well, yeah, they were right about Will Levis. They were wrong about Hendon Hooker. No, one balances out the other. I don't ever want to hear that conversation again. He lost his job as a backup to a man that had been coaching high school football for 6 months and came in the playoffs and said, "No, I'm better than you, Teddy Bridgewater." So good. I can breathe at last. That's my Friday Fire. What do you got, Ross? Ross?
I'm fielding multiple calls right now.
Oh, okay. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. If you would like to the opportunity to win those tickets, Ross will let me know when he is ready to deliver his Friday Fire. Why don't you just put them on hold as they call in, Ross, and then you can give yours and go back to fielding phone calls at your convenience. But yeah, the Hall of Fame game last night, it could be the Hall of Fame game being back. It was awful.
How about Trey Lance? Good for Trey Lance.
Good for Trey Lance.
That was mine.
Okay.
My bad, Ross.
Do you want to expand upon that?
It's because I do not like Colin Cowherd, and I know this will disappoint him, being that he used to love Trey Lance, and then obviously Trey Lance stopped dating his daughter, and then he hated Trey Lance. So now he has to hopefully discuss the Trey Lance performance last night on his show.
So you're happy for Trey Lance because you don't like Colin Cowherd.
Amen.
Who's the first phone call?
We got Bobo.
Bobo. Okay, what you got?
Hey, buddy. I just wanted to say my Friday Fire is the first preseason football game. Football is officially back.
Yes, it's a good one. Remember to stay on hold for the opportunity to win those tickets. I was at a bar last night watching the preseason game, and I saw somebody fist pump when the Chargers scored the first touchdown of the game, and I laughed because I had just heard in the background or felt in the back of my head, oh, that man had Chargers plus 1.5. You degenerates out there betting on preseason football, you make me happy. You make me sad, but you also make me happy. Football is indeed back. Who's next, Ross?
We have 2 Ryans, so I'm going to go to one of them and let them figure out who's on the air.
All right, Ryan 1, speak.
Hello, this is Ryan. I think that my Friday Fire is going to be my son starting on a scrimmage in football. And I think just high school football being back, and it's exciting.
Lovely. Well, we're happy for your son, and I know that's a fun experience for the family. That's a very wholesome one. Good to have high school football back in the state of Tennessee and all across the country. Good submission by Ryan 1. Ryan 2, you're up.
Hey, just calling in regards to the tickets.
No, you have to do something to win the tickets. We don't just give you the tickets.
We said call, but nobody was on the line, so I'm calling.
Get off the show. I mean, get the absolute bleep out of here. Nobody called. Nobody gave a submission after listening to two people give their submission.
You ever feel like a kindergarten teacher during these segments?
Oh, my God. Ryan 2 stinks. No, I would be a terrible kindergarten teacher because I just scream at them. I would belittle them. I would be the larger problem with the education system. I would not know how to handle the children and their specific needs, and I would just yell at them and be like, "You're dumb. Stop it."
You should just tell them, let's put on our listening ears.
That's why you'll never have my kid.
What? Why would I have your kid?
In kindergarten.
Weird phrasing by you.
Purposeful.
I don't think so. I think you're just bad at speaking in front of a microphone.
Anyways, Zach, you're up. Zach.
What do you got, Zach?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. You're giving away Coheed tickets. It's my all-time favorite band. I was already planning on going if I could.
Yeah, not because of us. Get out of here. I mean, I'm so mad. All right, who do you want to give them to, Ross? Because I'm not going to keep doing this. This is so stupid.
And we got one more. We got JB. I trust JB.
JB, please, God. JB, I believe in you. I put my unrelenting trust in you as a caller to this show to deliver in spectacular fashion to save us from the terribleness that has been this segment. What is your Friday Fire? Please, God.
Yeah, mine's not sports related. It's personal.
That's fine.
So after a couple months, guess what, boys? That divorce is final.
Yeah! Yeah! Send that man to the concert. Hell yeah.
Who's he going to go with?
I don't care. She can take half your stuff, but you can't take your tickets, baby.
What a walk-off.
Yes.
What a walk-off for the segment.
Yes, JB delivers. Where not the rest of the callers, but some of the callers have been wildly incompetent. Shame on you all, really.
JB, I'll go with you.
JB, stay on hold. Congratulations on your divorce. We are celebrating for you. I hope you celebrate with somebody else in your life because you get those Coheed and Cambrian Taking Back Sunday tickets.
Take her sister to this concert.
Who? That's the most toxic bleep I've ever heard. Take her sister to this concert?
Yeah, if you want to get back at her.
Well,
or mom.
I saw
her mom's available.
Her mom. I saw the most toxic thing I've ever seen on the internet the other day relating to the end of a relationship, where a woman was going around and an attractive woman going around at bars or going out on a weekend, getting asked for a number and giving out her ex-boyfriend's number to remind the ex-boyfriend that she has options. So a bunch of these dudes are texting the ex-boyfriend being like, "Hey, Lauren, met you the other night." It's disgusting, and I loved it. I loved it. Oh, it felt so good.
That is an evil person right there.
That's probably why I liked it. 615-737-1045 is the number. Congratulations to JB. Shame on the rest of you. Not all of you, but I mean,
liked Ryan 1.
Huh?
I liked Ryan 1.
Ryan 1 was good. And the guy that was excited, was that the guy that was excited about his kid in the high school scrimmage?
I believe so.
Love that for him. Very happy for him. The rest of you have been terrible. Do better.
Ryan 2 was the one that literally just wanted the tickets.
I think I'm going to start taking away caller giveaways because you guys have been so god-awful. Like, we're just rewarding incompetence around here, which is probably the reason I also have a radio show. But it's fine. Final hour's next.
Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Ross Johnston. The Titans added an extra padded practice this morning. Head coach Brian Callahan spoke with the media prior to practice and talked about what he's seen from his team so far when it comes to their urgency.
They've been incredibly urgent. Our competition in practice has been high level. The urgency in the meeting rooms, the urgency on the field, it's been super competitive. Those things I've been very pleased with.
In NFL news, Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin has officially requested a trade due to ongoing contract negotiations with the team. McLaurin has 2 Pro Bowls in his career as well as a second-team All-Pro nod he received last year and could end up playing elsewhere in 2025. The Chargers and Lions kicked off the 2025 preseason last night with a Hall of Fame game, and the Chargers won 34-7. Former Vols QB Hendon Hooker got some action with Detroit and went 3 for 6 for 18 yards and an interception. In NBA news, the New York Knicks reached an agreement with forward Mikal Bridges, signing him to a 4-year extension worth $150 million. Nashville SC takes on Aston Villa tomorrow at 4 o'clock in a club-friendly matchup at Geodis Park. We hope to see some of you guys out there. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news that wants in your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Oh, mercifully, it's the final hour from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park here on 104.5 The Zone. We've had a fun day. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us for one more. We're going to get you through it, get you a little closer to your weekend, a little closer to Blaine and Zach, and then 3HL on after that. 615-737-1045 is the number. Ross has an update on our winner, JB, who we gave tickets because he is celebrating his divorce or the finality of his divorce. He informed you that he was going to do what, Ross?
He wanted to get you and Bert to go with him to Deja Vu after the concert that night. Have a single night.
Well, Robert is famously not single.
I know.
So that would be, I mean, I'm sure Cheyenne wouldn't care. She'd probably just wish one of these strippers would just take him and so she could be done with it and move on with her life. God, it's been so long since I've been to Deja Vu. It's been at least 8 or 9 years. Strip clubs make me sad. I don't know. Like there's not a lot of utility to be gained from a strip club in my personal experience.
That's how you know we're in the third hour today.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a Friday. What else do you want me to talk about? Practice has been over for 2 hours, bud. We run through all the co-hosts that I had to make people less tired of just hearing me drone on for 3 hours today. But that's fine. We got plenty of football stuff to talk about. We are going to preview the cornerback room. We had Jarvis Brownley on earlier in the first hour. If you missed any of that, you can go back and check it out via the Zones or via the show's podcast page. Are we going to post that on YouTube? It was pretty good. I think we should.
It will be posted on YouTube.
Okay. It'll probably be up when? Today or tomorrow?
Sometime this afternoon.
Okay.
Just like
Ross
all
gets
the other
around to.
player interviews that you've had so far.
I think somebody asked for the chick interview the other day, and I didn't see it posted. You're bad at your job.
I might not have been here at work that day.
No. Excuse.
I would have posted it.
This is the first time I've worked with Joseph, and I think I kind of like him. This is as much extended time as we've spent around.
At least you haven't called him a sniveling coward yet.
Well, I didn't say that he is a sniveling coward. I said if anybody looked like a sniveling coward at the radio station, Joseph has the physical build of somebody that would be sniveling. Is that fair?
I don't appreciate that.
I don't care.
He had some choice words for you that day.
Jackson doesn't like it when I talk about his weight. Ross doesn't like when I talk about his
athletic ability.
His mouth breathe. Well, that, I've yet to see anything about his athletic ability. All I hear is him mouth breathing into the microphone while he's trying to deliver his updates. Everybody's got something. You guys give me crap all the time. Toughen up, Buttercup. You'll be all right. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, we'd be happy to have you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is how you can get involved for the remainder of the show. With everything that is going on with the Titans, we have talked a great deal about Cam Ward. He had a better day than he's had the last 2 days. The last 2 days have been ugly. Today was not as ugly. It had a little more flow to it. Cory Curtis of WKRN News 2 came on here and talked about the idea of just the temperature being less than 100 degrees, or at least the real feel, the heat index being less than 100 degrees. We got some cloud cover. It was in the mid-70s when we got out here and rolling this morning, and practice seemed to have a little more life to it, but the discussion about urgency versus focus and Callahan being asked about a lack of urgency or a perceived lack of urgency today, he gave an opening statement at the start of his press conference, Ross, if I could hear about that, because they were not scheduled to have a padded practice today, nor was it scheduled to be open to the media. But Callahan decided that this was something they needed based on how the first couple of days in pads have gone, and his explanation was at the very start of this morning's session.
Today we have some flexibility built into our training camp schedule. These days that precede our 2 padded practices are generally pretty tempo down days. But with 2 joint practices coming up and what I know is going to be, I know what we need to get to go be able to compete early in the season, and felt like another padded practice was in the cards. And so our flexibility with the schedule allows us to add it, and I'm excited to get out here and grind a little bit today.
So that is Brian Callahan talking about why he felt they needed a padded practice. And again, these joint camps against Tampa and Atlanta are going to be so important for them, as they are important for every team that goes through joint training camp practices. They are arguably more important than the actual preseason games themselves. I mean, for the starters, right? For the guys who are going to play, for the guys who are likely going to make it on the 53. And they're trying to figure out who's going to consist of the bottom third, we'll say, of the roster. The preseason games have great value for those guys. Not just to be able to make a roster here, but should they get cut elsewhere, maybe Tampa sees them in joint camp, likes them, picks them up, they can continue to prolong their NFL career as much as humanly possible, if that's something that they are going to continue to try and strive for. But at practice today, I don't know how hyper-focused, how long are we going to continue to hyper-focus on Cam Ward's interceptions? Like, how many weeks, if this continues, is too long before you start to get concerned as a Titans fan? I am not in the least bit bothered about Cam Ward throwing interceptions. I love that all the interceptions are coming early, but I have no idea what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. I don't know if he's going to make these same kind of mistakes in Tampa Bay. I don't know if Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich are going to throw some different looks at him in the camps with Atlanta that he hasn't seen here, because these are 3 different kinds of defenses. Nick Holtz was talking about it with us on the radio show on Tuesday. Denard Wilson's style is from the Baltimore school of thought. You've got Tampa 2, obviously, with Todd Bowles and all the different blitz packages that he has coming at you from all different directions. I think Holtz talked about it looking like there's 13 guys on the field at any given moment, with how the looks change from pre-snap to post-snap. The jet front that Atlanta likes to run based on their the background that Raheem Morris has with the Rams, and obviously Jeff Ulbrich coming over from the Jets, and how much of their school of thought is going to present different looks for Cam than he'll see out here. And they'll try to simulate as much of it as humanly possible before playing an entirely different style of defense with Vance Joseph and the Denver Broncos in Week 1. I'm not concerned in the least. There's no reason to be concerned about 2 weeks. I mean, unless he was, like, panicked, unless he was pressing. Like, if we could tell that he specifically Ward, if we could tell that it was getting to him the way that we could tell it got to his predecessor, then yeah, I mean, red flags all over the place. Cory Curtis, like I mentioned, was on with us in the second hour. He talked about, well, we saw a lot of turnovers last year, and we sat around trying to figure out, all right, what's that mean? Turns out it meant that the quarterback was going to be in a lot of situations where he felt pressed, whether it was because that's just how he's wired, or because of the lack of help around him on the offensive line specifically, so he was going to feel pressed all year long. And that was foreshadowing both the Ridley lack of deep connection with Will Levis and the turnovers that Will Levis committed. And then when Seattle came in here for joint camp and just kind of roughed up both sides of the ball to the point where you're looking around and saying, okay, whatever I thought about the Titans before joint training camp started, I may need to revisit some of these opinions or evaluations. It's too early to move off of opinions or evaluations that you may have, even if you're only getting a smaller sample size. Like, you don't have to change directions or feel like you need to pivot or be out on Cam Ward after you were in on Cam Ward just because he's thrown a bunch of interceptions in the first 2 weeks of camp. But joint training camp practice will inform that further. Preseason games will add additional film and additional context to what it is that we're seeing. How the offensive unit flows as well is going to be critical. And today I thought the urgency at practice was significantly better than it's been. How much of that was solely to do with the fact that it wasn't miserable out here as far as the weather goes is a different matter. We started the show talking about the idea of where can Brian Callahan help Cam Ward the most. And I want to, Ross, if the Cory Curtis clip is ready from him talking about, CEO versus, X's and O's coach. In fact, we'll get to it in the next segment and give Ross a little extra time to pull that from the second hour, because I really like the context that Cory put it in. The place that Brian Callahan can help Cam Ward the most is not strictly the X and O's. Yes, Brian Callahan is a very bright mind. I've no doubt. No question about it. You don't get to this level of coaching, not just the NFL, but as a head coach, if you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, some people, there's been interim situations where you question how qualified that interim coach is to be able to handle these situations, and some people get confused by, like, Brian Schottenheimer's hire in Dallas because he's never been an overwhelmingly great offensive coordinator, so how is that going to help him be a head coach? But this is the thing that I think people get caught up in too often, especially with how the hiring process goes. You don't have to be a good coordinator to be a good head coach. You don't have to be a good head coach to be an effective coordinator. In fact, there are far more coordinators who fail when they have to run the entire show, when they have to step into that CEO role, because it's vastly different from what they're accustomed to. And not everybody has the people skills, the leadership skills to handle the full responsibility of that. Brian Callahan's talked about that several times, where the biggest, or one of the biggest pieces of feedback that he got from players in exit interviews was, we didn't feel like on the defense and the special teams units that you were really a part of what it was that we were trying to accomplish. Already you've got division, even if it's not intentional. Like, nobody's doing this intentionally, but Brian Callahan's hyper-focused on getting an offense right and scrambling to try and figure out why his quarterback is having mental meltdowns in the middle of games after looking completely fine or adequate in practice and being more than competent in the meeting rooms. Everything that you hear about Will Levis is that he's more than smart enough to understand what they're trying to get across to him. It's just that when it comes to execution of it in game, when the actual live bullets are flying, it goes south, and it goes south fast, and once it does, it spirals. Callahan's biggest challenge this year is filling that void. That's the place where he can help Cam Ward the most, not being so involved in the offense and so involved in Cam Ward's development, which is what he's done his entire career, but making sure that he has as much of a grasp on the team as humanly possible, because it will be the team ultimately, and Callahan will have to support Cam Ward in a variety of different ways beyond just making sure that the team is operating in the same or moving in the same direction and everybody has a singular focus and you can capitalize on that without it being performative. That, I remember when, I can't remember who exactly asked the question last year, but there was a press conference last year, and I'm sure some of you remember it, where Callahan was asked about the idea or the narrative that last year's Titans team was soft. And he gave a 2-minute, maybe 2.5-minute expletive-filled rant at the podium that was very much not who that person actually is. Like, I'm sure he gets pissed. I'm sure he cusses. I saw him, lose his mind at Will Levis in week 2 against the Jets. What the F are you doing? After he farted that football backwards to Tajay Spears trying to make a play, which looked exactly the same way that Chicago pick six did. So I have no doubt that he's got fire to him when pressed. But that just seemed out of character for who that head coach actually is. And that's at the crux of this thing, the continuity, the chemistry, the leadership. Jarvis Brownley talked about it earlier, too. The authenticity. Who actually are you? And are you equipped to do this job? Trying to be as authentic as humanly possible in how you go about doing this job while still trying to accomplish the things that you know you have to accomplish is the best way for Callahan to support Cam Ward. We're going to talk about where Cam Ward can help Brian Callahan the most in the next segment. We'll also talk, we'll also hear from Cory Curtis and Callahan and Cam Ward. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hetty B's Hot Chicken. Best hot chicken in the world. The football gods have blessed us with beautiful weather out here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. The Titans are going to be out on the practice field again tomorrow and on Sunday. I'll be out here. Obviously, we won't do the show. I'll probably do some extra interviews, though, for Monday's show. Maybe we run those on Thursday and Friday while I'm in Tampa, because God knows Lucas and Robert aren't going to do any extra work in my absence. I couldn't even get them to show up today. One's floating a river and the other one's whitewater rafting. I can't imagine Bert is a strong swimmer. Like, I bet he floats. But, like, if he goes over, one, if I was Cheyenne, I'd just leave him there. Two, I can't imagine that he's capable, physically capable, if for no other reason than he's just got lungs filled with cigarette smoke. He can't possibly have the endurance to be able to swim to safety. I know they got life vests and everything, but I don't know. One of those two is not coming back from this trip, in all likelihood.
Bert's got that natural life vest, I would think.
What, his man boobs?
Yeah, probably pretty buoyant.
But doesn't fat sink? No, muscle sinks. Either way.
What did Joseph say?
Joseph said, so he'd definitely float. Disrespectful. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. So if practice was better today because of the weather, are they just going to suck again in Tampa? Like, that's kind of... I hate that... I get it. Like, it's hard for anybody to have great energy when it feels as bad as it does in the Middle Tennessee heat, but I don't know. I just hope that that's not a situation where we're talking about how the weather has impacted them in Tampa and they look a bit sluggish and the Bucs are used to practicing in this weather. I mean, it feels here, or it has felt the same here as it will in Tampa next week. There's plenty of people saying that practice had better juice, better urgency today, but like if it's just because there's cloud cover, that sucks.
Wasn't the weather thing an issue in one of the games last year? Didn't Jarvis come back after a game and say something about the weather, it being too cold or something like that?
That was Washington. It was like 50 degrees. Yeah, it wasn't his best. Jarvis was really good on the radio show today, and he caught hell about that from not just us, because I went crazy, obviously.
Rookie moment.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's like tough about the spot that so many of these young dudes were put in last year is like, Jarvis Brownley's a fifth-round corner that's starting as a rookie, and that's like one of the go-to guys in the locker room. And like Jeff is obviously too, but like we talk to Jeff every week, and then we're looking around, who the hell else are we going to talk to tonight?
You can only get so much out of a defensive tackle.
Yeah, well, and the defensive tackle, Jeff sometimes, I feel like Jeff talks himself in a circle sometimes, or just like continues to talk even though he's made his point, and that's fine. Like, more, I guess, is better than less, but yeah, Jarvis, that was tough when he was saying, I think the quote was, I think the cold got to some guys. And I'm looking around, I'm like, it's 45, 50 degrees out here. Respectfully. That's not why they got their asses kicked by the Commanders last year. Also, Jaden Daniels, we knew at the time that Jaden Daniels was going to be good. But that game was over halfway through the first quarter. I could have just packed up and flew back and called it a day. Ugh.
I just hope that weather issue narrative doesn't become a thing through this training camp.
Please give me another reason to talk about football performance other than the weather is impacting them. Even if they feel that way, I don't think anybody will ever say that out loud ever again, because we crushed them for that, among many other things that they were bad at.
Does it ever impact your performance during games? Do you ever complain about the weather?
Do I complain? I complain about everything.
Well, yeah, I figured.
That's why I got 3 hours of radio today. It's just I've got an opinion on everything, even if nobody cares about it.
Well, Buck is usually in an AC controlled area.
No, I got about an hour and a half of pregame out on the field.
But you can go warm up by the end of the game.
Warm up or cool down, depending on where I'm at. Does weather? Well, you know what I will say, when we do the preseason home pregame show in the elements, sitting outside of Nissan Stadium. I don't know how Titans fans do it. Like, that stadium sucks for a great many reasons, but there is just no protection from the sun, especially to watch a product as bad as that one was last year. Like, y'all are, you knew this, but y'all are a lot tougher than me, man. I would have waved the white flag week 3 after that Green Bay game and said, no, you ain't never catching me back in the stadium again. And
Are you going to get some shadow from that new stadium? Because don't you broadcast on that side?
We're on the north side now, which actually is a little bit more favorable as far as staying out of the sun. By the way, the new broadcast setup, or I guess Titans game day lineup, is official as far as who's going to be doing what and who has which responsibilities, because obviously we have had some changes since Kayla moved on, but Lead Company Countdown to Kickoff is going to be me, Blaine, and Brent, so that'll be a lot of fun. And then Blaine and Brent will hang out during road games, and I'll check in from the road, as is typically the case. Obviously, Taylor Zarzer and Mac, and Amy Wells and Will Bowling, who's going to be doing sideline road games this year. Amy's going to be doing home games. That's a new twist as well, with Ramon doing the Vols games as a studio, or I guess as a game day analyst. And then for some reason, Lucas is hosting pre and post network, which I can't imagine. Like, so Lucas, instead of the professional broadcaster that is Rip Bryant, is going to orchestrate me and Jim Wyatt's Titans Insider segments. I'm sure that'll go smoothly. It's going to be so hard for me to, like, take him seriously when he's asking me questions. It's going to be hard for him to take me seriously when he's asking me questions. I just don't think that's going to go well, and I feel like Wyatt's going to be caught in the middle of that. I don't think that's fair to Jimmy.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it's probably gonna lead to some comedic moments, which I'm sure people tuning into Titans Radio are not interested in. And then talkback is going to be Kevin Dyson, Stoney Keeley of Football and Other F Words, and of course Zack Lions as well. Aren't you doing something? Aren't you traveling?
Yes, I am. I am taking over for Philip Noel, and I'm going to be the on-site technical producer.
Okay, don't suck.
I'll try not to. My first test is a preseason game in Tampa.
That's inspiring.
Bring some goodies home from Denver.
I always do. Listen, I mean, I probably shouldn't talk about this on the air, but like the amount of, like, when the schedule comes out, I don't look at, like, I mean, I look at some of the fun trips or whatever, but I'm trying to figure out, all right, where can I go to the dispensary as soon as I land? That's my first priority.
So going back to the pre-show game, it's Buck, Brent, and Blaine.
The pregame show?
The pregame show.
You said pre-show game.
Oh, it's a Friday. My bad. But it's Buck, Brent, and Blaine. Mm-hmm. So the Triple B show.
Triple B show.
Doesn't someone else have a Triple B that we know?
No.
Big Boss Bert.
I'm unfamiliar with that person.
Big Baller Brand.
I would be more willing to. Can we all get Lonzo Ball shoes or not Lonzo? What was the dad's name?
LeVar
Ball. What a time to be alive.
Never lost.
Never lost.
He doesn't need shoes anymore, just shoe. Oh. He lost a foot.
He got it amputated. whether it's because of the Big Baller Brand shoes, there were some allegations about that impacting Lonzo's knees as a pro basketball player. But anyway, let's talk some Titans, shall we? 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. So, as we talk about the things that have been difficult for Cam Ward to manage, it's been because he's, adjusting to life as a professional football player. And we mentioned the idea that when Nick Suss was on the radio show yesterday in studio hanging out with us, Nick Suss, who covers the team for the Tennessee, and he brought up the expectation that Titans fans have for Cam Ward. Cam Ward has been a player that elevates himself at every level, and he gets to the pros, and he's not done it yet. Is that fair to be disappointed in? If that's what you were banking on coming in here to elevate this franchise. If you're a fan, I think it's okay. If you're a reasonable fan, I think it's also okay to be like, yeah, it's going to be tough for any rookie. I mean, the best players you've seen in the NFL, they struggle at some point in their career. Usually it's earlier, and they'll go through some level of sophomore slump as well, and things will change, and they'll lose coordinators or head coaches will be fired, and you'll see that impact them throughout the course of this thing. But Cam Ward is here trying to save a lot of people's jobs. And they may be safe for at least the immediate because Cam Ward is here, and they're going to at least give that some time to bear itself out. But, Ross, are we ready to play the Cory Curtis clip from the second hour? I want to play this back for people that didn't hear it in the 11 o'clock hour, because I thought Cory made a really good point about what they need out of Brian Callahan beyond just the X's and O's.
Well, when you're the head coach, I mean, and there are certain head coaches that are more offensively or defensively, keen to the situation, like Andy Reid or Sean Payton, or defensively, you've got some guys who can dial it up. But when you look at the head coach, you need that CEO, without question. I mean, like, did Mike Ditka ever drive you as just a rocket scientist and as a football man? But no, he was an effective leader. And that's what always struck me about Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel commanded a room. And I'm sure he commands a room right now in New England.
Buddy, he's commanding an entire organization from everything I can tell.
And so, you as the head coach, you need to be more than X's and O's. You've got to be able to lead a football team.
I'm going to go to those 3 Cam clips next.
They've got to believe in what you're doing, believe in what you're saying, and believe that you are the guy to get them across the finish line. And so, that's, when you start 3-14, you've got some battles to overcome. But I'm old enough to remember Jimmy Johnson going 1-15 with the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? They were god-awful. They were horrible. He's one of the best head coaches, GMs in NFL history. And what was the difference for Jimmy Johnson? When he started drafting some players.
Exactly right.
And when he got some players in there, you know what? He could coach. Shoot, Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl with his players. And again, I'm not
Poor Barry Switzer is always on the butt end of that joke.
Well, it's because he wasn't a very good head coach.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to discount the value of the head coach, but I'm just saying it's a players' league.
Players matter more.
It's a players' league.
So, we're trying to learn a lot about Brian Callahan, who's also trying to get as much out of Cam Ward as humanly possible for Cam Ward's own sake, but also for his own. And that's kind of where that question of, are they practicing with enough urgency? Do they approach this thing with enough urgency? Because they have a lot of people's jobs on the lines. Now, you don't want them to spiral. You don't want them to panic. You don't want them to press. We talked about Will Levis earlier in the show and how that was clear and obvious from the way that he operated, that was going to be something that you just couldn't lean on him for. Now, what you can lean on is Cam Ward is unbothered. Like, no matter how rough it might look out on practice, and it's looked rougher in the first 2 days. Today was a little smoother. First 2 days of padded practice. What I'm not concerned about is the theme that has continued through the offseason program and into training camp, which is that he is uneffable with. You can't bother him. You can irritate him, and that drive him to exceed or succeed at a higher level, but you can't really rattle him, it seems, or at least that's not been evident yet. So Cam Ward he gave his press conference on Tuesday. He talked about a couple of different things, but one of those things was the work ethic that he brings to his job. Now, I've made fun of I've made fun of a lot of things, but I've made fun of the way that Titans fans are obsessed with the fact that this quarterback gets here at 5 a.m. to conduct film sessions. And you're allowed to get excited about whatever you want to get excited about, and as long as he gets the work done, I don't care what time he shows up or how early he wakes up or what time all those things happen. But what I do appreciate is the context with which he approaches it and why he does it based on the context of what he learned from his father.
I'm just a big person on work. I said yesterday, I've grown up, watched my dad wake up at 4:30 doing a job he didn't like. So, if I can't wake up early and do what I need to do for a job I do like, I shouldn't be playing football. And that goes for everybody in the locker room. If you can't have the expectation for yourself that you want to be with a good or a great player and want to put the work in, I just think that's how it should go. I just think good things only come to those who work.
Good things always come or only come to those who work is one of the favorite lines I've heard anybody utter at a press conference out here. Like, that should really resonate. That's the kind of stuff that you want to trickle down or trickle up one way or the other. Good things come only to those who work. When you talk about a player being made of the right stuff, like the background, made of the right bleep, however it is that Rand Carthon described Tajay Spears a couple of years ago at the Combine, that's the kind of stuff that is embedded in him that you hope bleeds through every level of the organization, because God knows they need more of it, and enough people have just kind of lulled themselves into a sense of complacency about how bad this thing has gotten. In all the different ways that Titans fans want Cam Ward to be a franchise quarterback or want Cam Ward to be the savior of the franchise or all these different things that you're putting a ton of pressure on this young man to do, he's equipped to handle it in the ways that he talks about these things, in the approach that he takes, in the fact that he doesn't just talk about it, he does it. Whether he'll be successful in the NFL long term, nobody could possibly say. But at least he's equipped with the right tools to come in and try to accomplish the things that absolutely need to be accomplished. And the question remains as to how much better they can get around him to support him in those goals. Good things come only to those who work. I love that line. Let me also hear from Cam Ward about the feedback that he's getting from Tyler Lockett and Calvin Ridley after each day.
I think it's what you should need as a quarterback. They got to see from my point of view. And I also got to see from their point of view. So it's just about us, just learning each other. Lockett, he's a vet in the league. He's one of the best route runners at the slot position. He's been productive in every stop he had, and so he gotta learn. Just where I want to put the ball, and also got to learn his route runner.
They have a lot of things that are going to help prop Cam Ward up, or they've tried to put in a lot of things that will help prop Cam Ward up, help support him in how he goes about that. And I do think that's Lockett and Ridley's greatest value beyond what their individual talent is at their respective ages and their different points in their career. Like, I don't think Tyler Lockett is going to be a game-breaking wide receiver by any stretch of the imagination. I think Calvin Ridley does have that ability, and not just because of the way that his teammates glow about him. I do think Calvin Ridley is a special kind of player, even if he's not your prototypical wide receiver one or as dominant as a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson or an A.J. Brown. The experience that the two of those players have working with a couple of different kinds of quarterbacks, seeing the different looks that are being presented to Cam and helping him figure out the answers to the tests that he is being presented with on a day-by-day basis, that is an incredibly critical part of this process. And the thing that's going to help him take those next steps as he struggles, the way that Callahan talked about growth only comes through struggle. It's another line that I like today. How they go about accomplishing it, whether they go about accomplishing it, obviously that remains to be seen. One more from Cam Ward before we move on. Where he thinks the team can improve based on what he's seen so far from his perspective.
I think I like where we're at right now, especially on the defensive side. Our D-line, they're a very good defensive line who got the quarterback. Our linebacker group and Cody Barton and James out there, and then our defensive back group. I just think we just got to get better at the little things, especially myself, with the quick game and protections. But we all got a lot of stuff to continue to get better at, and I'm excited for it.
Well, he's impressed with the defense. He likes where the defense is at because the defense is giving him fits, giving them collectively fits. Today, it was a better practice for the third straight day in pads, even though they were off yesterday. James Prochet, I thought, had one of his better practices. I know it was either Cory or Zack Lions, who was on with us earlier, talked about media going up to speak to James Prochet and him giving a bit of a tongue-in-cheek response, like, now y'all want to talk to me, after he's had a couple of good practices. And I would respond, yes, because you've just now had a couple of good practices, and that warrants you being worth talking to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But he has been a bright spot in a couple of different ways. He had a nice catch on a deep ball thrown by Brandon Allen today that we talked about earlier. Jimmy Wyatt has Prochet with 8 catches over the last 2 practices and with 12 in the 6 open practices so far. So as you talk about roster math and the different things that you might be looking at, working through cornerback depth, working through wide receiver depth, could they keep 7 wide receivers on the initial roster if that was going to be the case? What'd you say, Ross?
Said I got that other clip you wanted.
Remind me which clip that was.
Your question today that got cut off by the Titans losing signal mid-question.
Oh, those snakes, those cowards, me asking the head coach about Terry McLaurin or adding Terry McLaurin and the signal cutting out. Shameful. Yeah, we can get to that here in a second. Cam Ward, sharper today than he was yesterday. He did throw a pick 6 to Roger McCreary, but on the whole, he has been able to kind of navigate the situation, and he seems to be getting incrementally better day over day, and that's all you can ask of him right now. The batted passes that keep happening in practice, and Zack Lions brought up his arm angle. I mean, far be it from me to criticize how a quarterback throws, not seeing exactly what they're seeing, and, understanding that different quarterbacks have a different method of delivery. I don't know if they want to start jacking with his arm angle at this point in his development. In fact, can I hear from Brian Callahan on that?
I think all quarterbacks get the ball tipped. I think it happens. These guys up front are pretty good at timing throws and getting their hands in windows. 2 of the tip balls really came off RPO looks, which are easy to coach off of. It's a little bit different pocket, and when you're blocking for a run and reading a pass, the rush can get a little bit closer than normal. So those are things we're coaching and working through. I don't, at this point, no sense to be alarmed by any tip balls at this point. It's kind of part of playing quarterback.
Yeah, but there are things that, I don't know if I outright agree with that. Those things just happen, and that it's a part of playing quarterback. Yeah, like the defensive line Jeff has great length. Arden has length. If he gets his hands up, if he can't get to the quarterback. Sweat, one just bounced off his helmet into the arms of a defender. It wasn't even a tip ball. Sweat's just, the ball was low. Something to keep an eye on. Like I'm not down on Callahan, or I'm not outright disagreeing with Callahan for his position on it, but I don't think that you can just be outright dismissive of that.
Question.
Because it's leading to turnovers, and that's the thing that you cannot afford to have, especially what this team looked like last year. Go ahead, Ross.
So, since you've been at practice, do you think that is more of an issue of his height? Because we obviously see guys like Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers utilize sidearm a lot, but Cam is a little shorter, I believe, and that arm angle might be a little lower.
No, I think that's a good question by you, and I would say that's an accurate assessment. The way that we phrased it in the second hour is he can do those things in college when the players are physically different, not as fast, not as long, not as athletic to be able to get in front of your face that way. Like that's why I think, and we haven't talked to the assistant coaches. I think we will at some point this weekend, or at least not since camp started. We talked to them in the offseason program. But I remember talking to Bo Hardigree about this, and specific to the special kind of things that Cam Ward is capable of doing. And the whole assessment from Bo, who is the quarterback coach, been here for a couple of years now, was, we know he can do that stuff. I'm trying to figure out, we collectively are trying to figure out if he can do the routine stuff beyond just trying to make something happen out of structure, off script, and getting too, I don't want to say too cute with it. That's not Bo Hardigree's words. I'm paraphrasing now, but we know that he has that in his bag. We're trying to figure out how much more refined, how much more in structure he can play so he doesn't have to lean on that kind of stuff all the time.
Would you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of looked like the defensive line was getting a lot more push, I guess, against this offensive line, at least the ones were. Today I noticed it for sure.
I don't know. They've been in the backfield a ton. They've been in the backfield a ton. I honestly think that the offensive line has fared better in these one-on-ones than they have in team. And then when we get to team, I also think some of that is on Cam, because he's going to have to recognize some of the pressures that, okay, I need to move the running back here to make sure that the safety coming off the edge isn't going to be in my face as soon as I snap the ball, like Xavier Woods was the other day. I think that, obviously you're looking for the offensive line to take a step forward. They're without Lloyd Cushenberry. We don't know for how long. Jeff is ragdolling Kevin Zeitler out there. He's supposed to be the best offensive lineman on the league. Not everybody has a Jeff, but a lot of teams do, or at least a couple of teams do, especially on this year's schedule. I also think, Joseph, that the thing to point out is, Tuesday, they're putting the offense in a lot of third and longs. Okay, well, the defense knows it's third and long. What are they going to do? It's going to tee off.
Yep.
I don't have to worry about the run game. I don't have to worry about gap discipline necessarily. I just have to get home and get there quickly and, do what's the easiest part of being a defensive front seven player, which is just rush the quarterback. Go get him, boys. So I do think that's why some of it looks the way that it does, but it's also, I think it's worth monitoring when we get to Tampa and they're facing Vita Vea, who, the last time the Titans played the Bucs in a regular season game, they put Vea out on the edge against Andre Dillard, and he won and got a sack. It's one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen in my life. And Vea's a good player. It's just Andre Dillard. Buh.
And that goes back to what Greg Cosell said on 3HL earlier this week, is they're throwing the kitchen sink at him because he hasn't seen this before. He's learning. Like you mentioned, the protections with the running backs and stuff like that. He doesn't know it yet. That's what this training camp period is for. So, you would expect there to be some level of, I don't want to call them miscues, I guess you would call them with that.
They want him to make mistakes so they can show him what he's doing wrong.
Exactly.
Last call for phone calls. If you got them, we'll wrap up the show for the week. Coming up next, I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Apparently, Lucas was on drugs and hallucinating last night. Is that what you informed me of? He was bringing his malfeasance to the morning show?
Yeah, something about being at Zac Efron's house and aliens attacking him from the sky. I don't know. I kind of got confused.
Lay off the drugs, kid. Now, Lucas done a good job filling in for Will, helping Ramon out. I know Ramon really appreciates it. I'm happy to have Lucas. It's nice. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, or Lucas will just be pissed that he has to come back and deal with me next week. But it's okay. I'll be in Tampa for a couple of days. Give him a break. Him and Bert can do whatever it is that they will do in my absence, and we'll look forward to covering an actual Cam Ward's first NFL game action in Tampa Bay, and you can hear that on Titans Radio, which we're excited about. There's a big news item in the world of how you consume your favorite sports. The NFL and ESPN have been talking for a while about selling the NFL Network to ESPN and more selling the NFL Network to Disney. That deal just went through. About 16 minutes ago, Andrew Marchand of The Athletic is reporting, he's their lead media writer, that the blockbuster agreement that will place many of the league's, this is directly from the article, place many of the league's top media holdings with ESPN in exchange for equity in ESPN that is potentially worth billions, has officially gone through an official announcement. It is expected next week. Disney, ESPN's parent company, has its earnings call on Wednesday. Both ESPN and the NFL have declined to comment to The Athletic on the reporting of this. But this is some of the details that are pertinent to you as a consumer. ESPN is expected to have access to Red Zone, the NFL Network, 7 more regular season games, the NFL's fantasy football business, and the potential to integrate special features, including betting and potentially more assets. The agreement coincides with ESPN's forthcoming direct-to-consumer service that will formally launch in the next few weeks. So they're going to basically put together an app that's going to cost you $30 a month. And why would you pay $30 a month for the ESPN app unless they have the NFL Network offerings? Like, that's a pretty, the idea that the NFL is going to have equity in ESPN means that, I don't know. So much of this stuff is falling apart anyway. And I know people don't care to hear media people talk about, journalism is dying and things are worse for it and all these different things. But I do hate, I hate Good Morning Football. I think it's terrible. Are you agreeing with me, Caleb Farley, or against me on this?
I'm with you.
I think it's so bad.
I don't get up early enough to watch it, to be honest.
It's just like all the clips I see, it's just a football circle jerk, and I can't stand it. Like, I don't want all this happy-go-lucky nonsense. I don't want the league painted as something it's not or put in a place that it's not. I want real coverage of the real things that are going on, and I don't like the NFL buying more of the journalistic entities up to make sure that the coverage is favorable to them. I don't know if that's it's probably something that just I care about, because most people are going to be like, all right, where do I go now to get my football? They're not going to care about all the different things around the football. But I don't trust the NFL Network to cover themselves correctly because they're owned by ownership. And now having an equity in Disney by giving them all these properties, because Disney has a better distribution service and the NFL is trying to take advantage of that and also impact the coverage. Like, at what point, Don Van Natta is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who does great reporting on Bill Belichick and Jerry Jones and all the bad things that they do behind the scenes and all the dumb business decisions that they make and all the different things that impact all of your favorite teams. Like, at what point is the NFL going to come for them and be like, yeah, maybe we don't put that out on ESPN.com this week? Yeah, maybe we don't make it known to the world that Dan Snyder has a congressional subpoena that would force him to sell his controlling share of the Washington football team.
Yeah, that would not be a good look.
Yeah, but I just don't know how many people actually care about it being a bad look.
Does this make Schefter and Rappaport coworkers now?
Well, that's the other thing. Who's redundant? Like, if you're Pelissero, are you sweating a little bit? You're the third man on that? They always, NFL Network went away from even, I think, the regional reporters, because we used to have, regional reporters. Tiffany Blackman was here for a long time. at the NFL Network. She used to have the Falcons, the Titans, the Panthers. I want to say she did a little Bucks as well, but like the Southeast, and they had regional reporters that way. They've pared that down since. ESPN, what I hope is it doesn't affect people who do great work like Teron Davenport. Now, Teron just got a 3-year deal from what I understand, and we're very happy for TD, and I have a particularly soft spot for Teron because I wouldn't have a career without Teron helping me learn how to do this job or at least do the job, showing me how he does the job, and then letting me, obviously I have a different spin on how I go about coverage. And Teron's is more film-based, and mine is more opinion-based, but like showing me the ropes, essentially, when I was starting out. And so I hope that extension is something that ESPN holds to, because ESPN does a lot of buying out of people. And I'm not saying anything specific about Teron, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but like my mind goes initially to, can I trust your coverage? Probably not. Are you going to impact my friends' jobs? Probably so. And that is not something that I love, beyond just like, where do I go to get my football? I don't know. Am I being a whiny journalist?
No, I think there's definitely some concern there, especially with can I trust what's getting pumped out of ESPN now?
There was already some, I don't know. Anyway, let's wrap this up with some polls and get on out of here for the week and let everybody get on with their day. What you got?
I hope you're not too excited about these answers, by the way, because they're not great.
That's all right. I don't care. Way to psych people up, by the way, Ross.
I was about to say.
Finish strong on a Friday. Hope you're not excited.
That's the crowd participation's fault.
Jerk.
Debbie Downer Ross now.
Not Lucas.
Oh, really? What gave that away?
Was it the voice?
All right, Joseph, get out of here. The polls presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealership. Where can Cam Ward help Brian Callahan most? The only answer we got was Playoff Vol, who said getting more reporters fired.
Huh. Cam can get reporters fired?
I guess so. I don't know.
Interesting.
Where can Brian Callahan help Cam Ward most?
What reporters gotten fired?
I don't know.
Oh, they're talking about Stillman?
Might be.
Oh, no, we don't have to get into that.
Come on, Cam Ward.
That's his business.
Where can Brian Callahan help Cam Ward most? P said, trade for Parsons. And Troy Smith said, is trading him to a better organization over the line? So again,
getting traded from traded from the Cowboys to the Titans would be getting traded to a better organization?
No, those were two separate answers. One person just wanted to say trade for Micah Parsons, and the other was saying...
Can Cam Ward go trade for a player?
Yes, correct.
The guy was saying get Cam to a different team and he'll be better. Well,
yeah. Statistically, that's a thing.
I don't think that'll help Callahan
There's
very much.
46% of quarterbacks that get drafted in the first round that don't win playoff games for their organization, and a lot of them go to different organizations and do just that.
All right, what's your confidence level in the Titans cornerback room? Scoob said 8, the Brian said 5, and Tim Williams said mid.
I would go with mid.
Very good. And lastly, what's the most positive story you've seen in sports this week? Tyler said Bryce Harper getting in Rob Manfred's face and saying GTFO of our locker room.
Literally telling him to get the F out of the clubhouse because Rob Manfred brought up to players a salary cap in baseball.
And then Jay said something that's happened with a network in the region, some news announcement that was dropped yesterday. So I won't expand on that.
What, Stillman getting fired?
Yes.
So weird. Just say things.
I didn't know if we were able to go there or not.
What do you mean if we're able to go there? What do you think? Somebody going to sweep down from above and throw me into the back of a van? Stop.
I wouldn't mind it.
Listen, bud, they may have gotten one of us, but they can't get me. Not yet, anyway.
All right, those are the polls.
That's the show. Good job by Ross. Good job by Joseph and Kirby and Lucas and Robert and everybody else. Thanks to everybody that's hung out with us this week. We're back on the field tomorrow, but no show. See you Monday morning at 10 a.m.